In just 1 month, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway hosts the greatest spectacle in racing. But today, half a world away, it's the battle before Indy, as teams and drivers of the Indycar series wrestle with the tough car-eating track known as Twin Ring Motegi. 1 year ago, Dan Wheldon possessed the characteristics of a samurai warrior en route to scoring his first ever IndyCar Series victory. It was also the first win for Honda at its home track. Since then, Wheldon's been on a tear, winning 2 out of the first 3 events of the 05 season, including the most recent event, an incident-filled affair through the streets of St. Petersburg, Florida, where Michael Andretti's team made IndyCar history, sweeping the top 4 spots.
This is a dream. I mean, you're not going to get it. It can't get any better.
I think the IndyCar Series rocks right now. You can't say that's not one of the most competitive races you've ever seen.
This week's battlefield is set. The Warriors are ready. The Indy Japan 300 is next. And a warm konnichiwa from the land of the rising sun. ESPN's coverage of the Firestone Indy Japan 300 from Twin Ring Motegi. The culinary delights are just a bit different than what you'll find in the States, but I'm hearing they are tasty nonetheless, as we welcome you to Firestone Race Day. And a warm hello, everyone. Todd Harris along with Scott Goodyear and Dr. Jerry Punch reporting from the pits. And we want to mention our colleague, former colleague, Gilles DeFerrin has taken lead. He is now the sporting director for Bar Formula One, and they had their best finish in San Marino last weekend. Well done, Gilles. Also, we want to remind you that we will have side-by-side coverage here on ESPN. You miss next to nothing. And Scott, this is a great weekend to have this feature because Danica Patrick has created some serious drama coming in the qualifying session. She looked almost flawless.
You know, and the drama here also, Todd, is a race between the manufacturers, obviously between Toyota and Honda. Qualifying is very important to them. We watch Danny Wheldon right now, the 3rd car out, puts up a big number. Everybody thought, there again, he's going to continue on, but Helio Castroneves bumped him off, and now you have a Toyota running up front. That didn't last for long because Danica Patrick, a big surprise, as you mentioned, put up over 204 miles an hour.
So Danica Patrick was on the pole. She was absolutely mobbed by the media here. Bobby Rahal very happy in her young career to do something like that at a very difficult track. It was amazing, but Scott, it was not meant to be. Sam Hornish Jr. next up.
Look how wide he was coming off before. Not much aero on this car. Always puts up great qualifying times. Bobby Rahal's been there before. Disappointment, but they know they'll be on the pole very soon.
Hornish beats her by 0.03 of a second, and this was the incident with just 2 drivers remaining. Thomas Inge, the number 2 Rockstar car, takes it into the wall. Safer barrier does his job, but Scott, we're now hearing that he already had a broken rib on the right side.
Some injury he had earlier in the week somewhere in Japan. We're not sure where, but this accident here has knocked him out of the race. The safer barrier, the phase 2 of the safer barrier, probably caused less injury to the car in him if it had been just a standard wall we had there last year.
So Thomas Inge will not be racing. That is the word. He will not be racing here in Twin Ring Motegi. The top 10 looks like this. Hornish Jr. and Patrick form the front row. Then Sharp and Castroneves. Scott Sharp, a former winner. You like him here?
I like him. He's always run strong here. I think he's got the bite right now. He knows he has to do well. He's after Indy, and Indy's next on the list.
And Tony Kanaan right now sitting in 10th, but that never seems to be a problem. It doesn't matter where he starts. Tony Kanaan will certainly be a factor. Right now, let's send it down to Dr. Jerry Punch, who is with our front row drivers.
Well, if Sam Hornish Jr. wasn't already a hero, he has become one to one of the manufacturers here in Japan. He put a Toyota on the pole here at Honda's home track. And Sam, that's sort of like painting the Boston Red Sox logo on the New York Yankees infield. You got these Honda folks fired up. Can you hold them off at the start?
You know, we're not worried about the start. We're worried about the end of the race. I think that we have a really good handling race car. It showed that in the final practice yesterday, and hopefully we'll just go out there, stay out of trouble, and be around for the end.
Thoughts, concerns about possibly having a rookie start beside you on the front row?
Not really. I mean, I just have to go out there and get the best start I can get, and you know, see where everything shakes out. This whole Marble Team Penske crew has done an awesome job for me, not only this weekend but so far this year. And I think that you know, we get through the beginning of this race, get our pit stops really down, and if I get a good start, we should have some clear sailing for at least a couple laps.
Hey, thanks for your time and good luck to you, Sam. Have a good one today. Now, the rookie he's talking about is Danica Patrick. As she came into the week leading the Bombardier Rookie of the Year standing, she's going to finish the week leading the field down to the green flag from the front row. And Danica, great qualifying lap. You deserve to be there. Now, what's the game plan? How do you play it?
Well, you definitely can't make a game plan for the start. You have to be aware of, who you're around and what the trends tend to be. But, I mean, it's race number 4 for me, so I don't really have a big database. I'm just going to go out there and literally just try and keep my foot down and hope for cautions in the right places for me, and hopefully I get good fuel mileage and hopefully I have a good car in traffic. I think that's going to be the biggest thing, since 3 and 4 is a lifting situation and not 1 and 2.
You mentioned only your 4th race. You have come so far, so fast, but still, first time as a rookie on the front row. How big are the butterflies?
If you want me to be honest, they've been there since, I don't know, the beginning of the week, and they've been bigger since qualifying. I think they're worse than if I would have been 5th or 10th or anything else, because you've got a good car and you need to not make mistakes, and you want to stay. You have to stay in the front. I have to stay in the front, and I just hope that my experience will serve me, and instead of dropping me back at all.
Danica, you got a great car and a great team. Best of luck to you today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. As we take a look at our Firestone point standings thus far in this season, it's Weldon Cannon, Hornish Jr., Castroneves, and Vitor Mira rounding out the top 5. But, Scotty, over the last 365 days, the hottest driver may have been Dan Weldon.
Absolutely. He won this race here just a year ago, which started the 5 wins that he has so far. And impressive to me is that he's absorbed all the information from his teammates that had a lot more experience from him, a lot more wins coming from Dan Weldon.
Well, Dan Weldon, 5 wins in 1 year. It has been impressive indeed. And our Dr. Jerry Punch caught up with him and asked him, was Twin Ring Motegi the one that really got things rolling for him and Team AGR?
Yeah, it is. I think it was also the start of a lot of good chemistry between the team, because I sucked the first day, and then between Dario, Tony, and Brian, they got me going fast the next day. So
5 wins in the last 18 starts. Where's the magic come from for Dan Weldon?
I think everything at Andretti Green Racing, to be honest. It's good organization, it's good fun. I got 3 great teammates that I love dearly, and I'm just enjoying myself.
Dan Weldon enjoying himself. He is one of the most popular drivers over here, and the fans here are very knowledgeable, Scott. They know what they like, and they know these guys have the skills to turn it loose at Twin Ring Motegi. We asked the drivers what they liked about coming here to the land of the rising sun.
Japanese fans loves Indycar.
They're here at 7 in the morning. They stay till 7 at night. They literally run through the paddock after you to get your autograph. I mean, they're genuinely thrilled that we're here.
Normally when your teams go separate ways at the end of a night, with this track you get to go up there, all hang out, go to the karaoke room or whatever, and have some fun. It's a good setting.
Anytime you go in a strange country and you don't speak the language or nothing like that, you feel lost. But as far as the race facility, it's a beautiful facility.
What could they add to the menu here that would make it feel more like Texas?
Well, get some fried chicken and big old ribeyes, New York steaks.
And those are just a few of the things that A.J. Foyt would like to have here in Japan. Something that definitely will give him heartburn, his grandson putting the car into the wall with 10 minutes left in the final practice session.
Hitting that outer barrier in turn 4, the same place where Thomas Engay actually hit the wall. You can see that safer barrier there, Todd, brought over just for this particular race. Watch the nose cone now going into the wall. That's about another $30,000, probably $100,000 damage right there in that quick couple of seconds.
Now, something they did not need, so A.J. Foyt, the 4th, takes that car back to the garage, and strangely enough, though, they got it fixed, Scotty, and that is amazing, but it wasn't after Grandpa got involved.
Well, a mechanic for many, many years, as also a driver, but some frustration there by A.J. Foyt.
So from the serenity of the Foyt garage to the serenity of some of the beautiful temples surrounding Twin Ring Motegi. When we come back, Dr. Jerry Punch goes camping Japanese style. You're watching the Firestone Indy Japan 300.
Welcome back to Motegi, Japan. And, you know, here in Japan, just like the United States, camping and pre-race tailgating is as much a part of the race day ritual as the green flag itself. But you won't see any converted school buses here in this campground. They're all nice commuter vans with cargo carrying containers on top. And most of the time, they camp in tents. Now, we're going to stroll in here and say hello to the Kikuchi family and see what's for breakfast. Now, you know, nothing beats the smell of bacon frying on a race morning, but I've looked everywhere for a sausage patty and haven't found one. Ohio, which means good morning. Let's see what the Kikuchi family has here. Oh, got eggs, a little rice. Oh, I found sausage, guys. And one of my favorites, fried pork or fried tenderloin. Can't get any better than that. Not only do these people have a passion for American Indycar Series racing, they also understand that tailgating's got to include sausage and tenderloin. What about hash browns? Anyone got any hash browns scattered, smothered, or covered? I guess not. Guys?
Thank you, Dr. Punch. Well, Twin Ring Motegi, more than just a racetrack. They have done a fantastic job, the folks at Honda, of turning this to really an experience. They have the museum, they have a simulator, even showing off the latest technology and robots. This is Cosmo. Not sure if his last name is Kramer, but he does have Scott Goodyear-like dance moves. Uncanny. And if that's not your taste, you can always go back outside for some racing. Well, Michael Andretti has won here as a driver and an owner, and last month in St. Petersburg, Scott, it was a great weekend for Team Andretti.
Michael's son Marco taking the lead right there, going through the turn, sat on the pole and won the race. A great weekend for the Andretti Green Racing Team.
Mario Andretti also on hand, and then the IndyCar Series boys took to the streets of St. Petersburg. It was Dan Weldon picking up the victory, but Andretti Green takes the top 4 positions. Truly monumental. Michael Andretti standing by with our Dr. Jerry Punch.
With Michael Andretti, and Michael, as a car owner, promoter, and dad, you couldn't ask for a better result than what we saw at St. Petersburg. How do you top that here today?
That's the problem, isn't it? You know, it's only down from here. It's just that was the most unbelievable weekend of my life, and it was just you can't top it, you know. But you know, what we're excited about the rest of the year. We're excited about here in Japan. This is a big race for our team, as you know, and it was one of our biggest wins as a team when we won here last year, and hopefully we can follow it up this year.
Michael Andretti, the car owner of 4 cars in today's field. By the way, he won here back in 2000, and a guy he beat, the guy he employs now, Dario Franchitti.
And what a weekend it was in St. Pete for Michael Andretti. For the rest of the field, Scott, not so good.
And the guys on the bad end of that whole program was the Target Chip Ganassi team. You see Scott Dixon here getting taken out by Masura, and it didn't get very much better, Todd, for the guys on the team as the race went on.
Ryan Briscoe right here. He was the leader until Tony Kanaan came on through. It was a rough weekend indeed, and our Jerry Punch is standing by with Chip Ganassi.
These cars don't have fenders, they don't have bumpers, but yet we're seeing a lot of physical action. What gives here, Chip?
Well, you know, Jerry, it was a competitive race. I think that with Ryan's car, we had a great strategy to get him up to the front there. We did. We got him to the front. I think ultimately that last yellow flag, you know, packed the field back up again. Gave Tony Kanaan quite an advantage to, you know, to come up. He was coming from last. I think all things being equal, without that yellow, we were winners. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. You know, you had a racing incident there. You know, Tony and Ryan were having dinner with each other last night here in Japan. So I don't think there's any acrimony or animosity between the two. It was a racing incident, and you know, you got a veteran driver coming up on a rookie, probably a little bit of an intimidating situation.
Got to ask you about the team. You know, you guys, Target Ganassi, synonymous with success here in open wheel racing, yet you've struggled since that championship year in 2003. How close are you to getting this team back on top to where it belongs?
Well, you know, yeah, 2003 does seem like a long time ago. You know, it was only 2 seasons ago. So, yeah, we haven't forgotten how to win. We're just, you know, struggling a bit. You know, finding our way with some horsepower issues right now. You know, some teams have it figured out and we don't right now. So, but we're working hard at it. We didn't forget how to win, and we have some great partners in Target and Toyota, and we're not going to let them down or run away from them when things get bad. We'll be back soon.
Hey, Chip, good luck for you today.
Thank you, Jerry.
Guys?
And the reason Tony Kanaan had to be so rough on the racetrack is he had one of the worst days in the pits ever in his career. Twice he came in for service and ended up being at the back of the pack. Here he's trying to go past Ryan Briscoe in turn 4, but he gets blocked. Here going into turn 10, he takes Briscoe out in what was a move that probably cost him the win for the race. Shortly thereafter, His teammate, number 26, Danny Weldon, took the lead over for good and did not give a chance to Tony Kanaan.
Well, that concludes our Firestone race day from Twin Ring Motegi, Japan, as our modern-day samurai warriors get ready to go green. Plus, we'll have a history of IndyCar racing in the land of the rising sun, as ESPN's coverage of Firestone Indy Japan 300 continues after this short break. Today, Indy-style racing makes its 9th appearance in the land of the rising sun. Back in 1966, the Indy cars made their first visit, competing at the brand new Fuji International Speedway road course. A total of 32 world-class drivers showed up, and on race day, a large crowd did as well for this exhibition affair. Jackie Stewart qualified his Bo Seal Fast Special on the pole, swapped the lead with Graham Hill and Canadian driver Billy Foster before beating Bobby Unser to take the victory in the 1966 Indy Fuji 200. And in this automotive technology-rich country, we take a look at IndyCar winners in Japan through the years. Back in '66, it was Jackie Stewart. Adrian Fernandez, 2 wins, 98, 99 on the kart series. Michael Andretti, as we pointed out, has been a winner both as an owner and as a driver. There in 2000 as the driver, Kenny Brack, Bruno Junqueiro, and Scott Sharp, our winner 2 years ago. Dan Weldon, the defending champion. As we welcome you back to Twin Ring Motegi, it is almost time to go racing here as we take a look at our Firestone starting grid, which will be running on the top of your screen. There is Sam Hornish Jr. as he picked up the pole, just edging out Danica Patrick. Scott Sharp currently sitting in third, and you get a great look at this fantastic facility. There you see the cars all gridded, ready to go. And Scotty, it is a beautiful day. A little rain earlier in the week, but today it looks beautiful as the cars roll off the grid.
A very high tense moment for everybody involved right now. Remember, 6,000 miles away. You got to enjoy coming to Motegi.
Well, as we take a look at our race line, as we pointed out, Danica Patrick really set up some great drama in her 4th IndyCar Series start. On the front row, nearly grabbing her first ever pole. Can she make the magic work today in Motegi?
Darren Manning, Chip Ganassi Racing, has had a rough year so far. Not a very successful St. Petersburg race also. He turns 30, so we'll see if 30 is going to be his lucky day for him today.
And Scott Sharp, his best start this year. He is sitting on the 2nd row in 3rd place. He won here, remember, back in 2003, so he knows how to run the Twin Ring, a guy you really like today. As we take a look at our Firestone keys to the race, Scott Goodyear, how do you get it done?
Well, as you can see by this racetrack, it's 2 different turns on both different ends there. Chassis balance is very, very important. It's an egg-shaped racetrack, as I mentioned. Watch the weather, because the wind picks up here, can always play havoc on the drivers, and fuel mileage, Todd, is going to be very important, because these guys want to stay out on the track under green conditions as long as possible. Timing the yellows, very important.
Penske driver right there. There is Sam Hornish Jr. bringing them down as they warm the tires up. Now, Tony Kanaan, just at the top of your screen right there in the green and white, he currently sits in 10th. But as we talked about at the top of the show, this is amazing. It doesn't really matter where Tony Kanaan starts. Do you see him today trying to jump it and making a pass like we saw him do at Homestead?
Well, you know, you see it everywhere. Homestead and even Phoenix, he just comes from the back and goes forward. And, you know, very confident in doing that now. You know, this season's turned around a little bit for him as we now run along with Thomas Scheckter. You know, he, there again, has to make sure he gets up in front. Thomas Scheckter needs to also finish this race. Thomas Enge, his teammate, right now is out.
Yeah, 0 wins and 19 DNFs, and I know that's what not what the folks at Panther were looking for. A very talented driver. We've talked about it before. This may be the place where he breaks out, and I think, Scott, when he does, it is going to be fantastic. And you get a good idea right there of just how much it took to get over to this position. 13,000 miles, that's a round trip, 420,000 pounds of equipment. And there you see the cars loaded too high on 18 by 10 foot pallets, a 14-hour time difference from Motegi back to the United States. So we are set to go. A 200-lap race here at the Twin Ring Motegi. Very challenging, Scott. I asked you earlier, what does this track most resemble what we'll see in the States? And you said probably Homestead.
A place like Homestead, it doesn't have the banking, but it's a very fast track like Homestead. And we see here the 200 laps that you're talking about, 300 miles in this pit window here. 40 to 44 laps is going to be what these guys are going to try and make. 14 Dallara chassis, 8 Panos, and you've got Scott Dixon now has changed out of a Panos into a Dallara. So the engine manufacturers are very important here because both Honda and Toyota want to win this race very badly.
the most competitive open wheel racing series on the planet. It's the Indycar series from half a world away. They are in Japan and we are almost set to go racing. We've had 3 races completed thus far: Homestead, Phoenix, and St. Petersburg, but this is like nothing they've seen before, Scotty. The time difference, the change, the move over here, and a lot of pressure. It doesn't matter what side of the world we're on. These guys are all battling for points.
Well, right now the pressure's on the front row, I would have to say, because right now Danica Patrick with her minimum experience as we ride along right now with Darren Manning, the key thing, and Thomas Schechter right along with now, the key thing is get a clean start for Danica Patrick because she knows that Sam Hornish on the other side of her has just a wealth of experience.
As they wait for the green flag, bring it around one more time, as they say in Japan, Gokuro-san. We are off and racing at Twin Ring Motegi.
Danica's not backing out. She's got the high line.
She's not backing out, Scotty. She's moving to the front of the pack. Sam Hornish Jr. on the inside in the red and white car. It's Danica Patrick to the front. An unbelievable move by the youngster. Oh, and right off the back, we've got problems, and that will bring out a yellow. And Scott, not even one lap, and it looks like either Roger Yasukawa and Scott Dixon.
The bad luck for the Chip Ganassi Racing team just continues on.
And we'll have to look at that again because I don't think there was any contact, although it's Jeff Buckman, actually, number 44. He is running the same colors as number 24, his teammate Roger Yasukawa. That is definitely the 9 of Scott Dixon and the target Chip Ganassi. First and foremost, the most important thing is that both drivers are okay. And there you see the safety crew getting to them, making sure that they are responsive. They will check the cars now. But unfortunately for Jeff Buckman, his first foray into IndyCar racing, not memorable.
Not very successful, and they started beside each other, actually. Dixon was just on the inside, Buckman on the outside, so it'll be interesting to see how this transpired. And, you know, you can see the shield is up right now, and Scott Dixon is already standing out of his car. Not a very successful weekend. The safer barrier that we've talked about, you can see it right there. Is a great new system that's been in the States here for quite a few years. Now, Honda has brought the system over to this racetrack just for this one event. They only run one race here a year. The time and the commitment and the funding to actually bring this in has been really great on Honda's part.
Taking every precaution, and Jeff Buckman, this is not the way you want to start a 6,000-mile trip, 14-hour time zone away, and here's how it happened. Way at the top, it's already into the wall, Scotty.
Already up at the top. You can see the section up there. The cars are already in there. So, you know, I don't want to place any blame right now because we haven't seen the very beginning. But, you know, with cold tires and your very first race, as we're going to ride along here right now, you can see how the car just sort of moves because it is very rough there.
Yeah.
I would have to say Buckman's already backwards right in the middle of the turn and takes out Scott Dixon.
So for Scott Dixon, the slump continues. After leading in 15 of his first 17 races, he has not led in his past 17 starts. And so for Jeff Buckman, and as you said, we don't want to place blame, but is this a rookie mistake, or he's just not used to all that air when they get up to speed?
Well, I mentioned the cold tires right there, and you can see he's in a world of pain right now. He's going to get helped by the race crew that are going to turn around and bring him into the infield medical center to have a look at him. But, you know, he's also a driver right now, as we watch Robbie Buell, who's the team owner, that's trying to run the Indianapolis 500 next month. And, you know, the key thing right now is that in a week from now, these cars are going to be on the racetrack in Indianapolis. So that's a key thing.
Let's go down to pit row and our Dr. Jerry Punch.
And after a great week here, Jeff Buckman has been among the top 4 or 5 in practice each session. Robbie, a tough start for you for the young rookie driver. Any idea what might have happened out there?
No, it's probably a little early to really tell. We haven't talked to him, but like you say, he was doing a good job all weekend. Not really what we were looking for. We wanted to be all around all day and build our momentum going into Indy, but we'll find out a little more here in a second.
Speculation that possibly cold tires, it could have been, because it's a lot warmer today than it's been, maybe some lack of grip early on?
Well, sure. I mean, you know, that was just the green flag. I hadn't completed a lap. Your tires are a little bit cold. Was that the case? I don't know.
Okay, Robbie Buell here with calling the shots for Jeff Buckman. They have been so pleased all week long with the rookie's performance. He has been among the top 4 or 5 in his session of practice, which has opened a lot of eyes here in the IndyCar series.
All right, thank you, Dr. Punch. And you can see the visible frustration on Robbie Buell's face as his rookie driver unable to complete 2 laps in. We're going to step aside, take a break, but we will keep you side by side. When we come back, we'll introduce you to Jeff Buckman. presentation. Welcome back to ESPN's coverage of the IndyCar Series Firestone Indy Japan 300 from Twin Ring Motegi. Well, an auspicious start as we were just going green, and an incident into the third and fourth turn involving Scott Dixon and Jeff Buckman. Now, Jeff Buckman, a very interesting story. He has some big shoes to fill. His father, Ronnie Buckman, one of Honda's first entries into the world of Formula One.
Even though I was born at the end of his career, I was the youngest of 4 kids, so they stopped bringing us kids to the track with 4 kids, and so I never actually got to see him race. But, you know, I've heard all the stories from him and other people that have watched, him race. Even this weekend, I got to meet a couple of the veterans that worked on his car in Tokyo, and learned some great stories. And then I purposely didn't go to the museum to see these cars the last couple days, because to let my first opportunity to see these cars be right here and now, and you know, I got chills right now, I have to tell you.
When you climbed in that car your dad drove and you're sitting halfway out of the car, what are your thoughts?
I mean, you know, it's crazy. I think it's crazy. I mean, we know technology now and safety and all those things, and back then I know that, you know, this was the safest car they could build, but man, I mean, they were real drivers, real heroes back then. I mean, they you know, bridged the gap for us guys to race faster and safer. So it's pretty wild to go sit in the car. For me, especially, just to sit and see exactly what my dad saw. I mean, it like I said, it's pretty emotional, actually. You know, it'd be nice if he was here right now.
What a terrific story, you know, but I mean, some disappointment right now. He expected a lot of things, I'm sure, to be able to race here in Motegi and to be able to have a good finish. And you want to keep all the wheels on the car, Todd, certainly just because you want to get yourself back to Indianapolis to be a rookie there to go and qualify for the Speedway.
And for our fans watching at home, just a correction, that was turns 1 and 2 where the incident took place on the opening lap. As we check in once again with Dr. Jerry Punch.
And we've caught up with Chip Ganassi, and Chip, sort of indicative of the kind of luck you guys, or bad luck you guys have had this year. From your vantage point and talking to your spotters, any idea what happened?
Well, you know, Jerry, we're trying a new car out this weekend, trying to get ready for Indy. We switched to the Dallara chassis. You know, unfortunately, we didn't qualify where we should, and you end up being in the back there, you know, with some drivers that maybe don't have the experience that a former champion does. And, you know, on the first lap, a guy spins in front of him and just takes him out. You know where to go.
Well, the good news, though, is that Scott Dixon is okay. He'll be able to go to Indy, but a very significant disappointment here early on for Chip Ganassi and the former series champion Dixon.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Punch. Best finish for Target Chip Ganassi Racing in 05. Hard to believe it's Darren Manning, a 6th at Homestead. So Dr. Punch is exactly right, and Chip Ganassi's face tells the story. Just not their year, been almost snake bitten.
And let's touch on something right now. As we watch Danica Patrick, who's leading the first laps of her career right now. You know, Chip pointed out a very good thing. They're in a new chassis right now because they've been running the Panos chassis for many years, running the Dallara because they want to learn about this car and the possibility of running it at the Indianapolis 500 next month. So, you know, maybe that changes their game plan right now.
And that's an interesting graphic that just popped up there. This is the first career lead for Danica, obviously, but the last time a female led in the IndyCar Series was Sarah Fisher back in 2002 at Kentucky. Well, as they get the debris off the track, we get set to go racing. If we go racing during commercial, you won't miss it because we are taking you side by side here on the IndyCar Series from Japan. Just a reminder, catch qualifying for the O'Reilly Thunder Nationals Saturday on ESPN2 at 7 Eastern and the final round on ESPN Sunday at 7 Eastern. And as always, for more information, log on to ESPN.com. Back at Twin Ring Motegi, we quickly check in once again with Dr. Jerry Punch.
And we told you at the top of the show that Thomas Engie had a hard lick in qualifying yesterday, a 90G lick. And Thomas, first of all, how are you?
Well, a part of little bruises and 2 broken ribs is fine. I'm okay. I mean, it's big a disappointment that we cannot run today with the Panther Rockstar car, but obviously we have to take care for the next race, which is the biggest one in the 500. I have to make sure that I will be okay. Unfortunately, it looks like this place is not lucky for me, even though I really love it out here. I love the country. I love sushi as well. But when I was running here in 2001 with pros in Formula 1 in Suzuka, I had bad luck as well, and I had to have a shunt over there, and then I didn't finish a race because of brakes problems. So it doesn't seem to be a lucky place for me, but I still love it.
We told you it's been a tough week now. You fell earlier in the week coming out of one of the restaurants here after having sushi and broke a rib, but then we're showing people what happened in qualifying with the car. A hard impact. Did the car just break loose?
Well, we had a pretty good car all weekend. We just tried to work on our race setup on Friday, and then on Saturday morning, I'm a bit confused about the dates, the days. Actually, Thursday in practices, and then on Friday morning we really tried to set up the car as good as possible for qualifying. And then unfortunately I went out and I did a big mistake, and I just overshoot the first turn, or actually turn 3, and then I get a loose rear, and I hit the wall. It's really unfortunate because the Chevy car was running really good here, and well, next time.
Okay, Thomas Engie, and by the way, he had a broken rib in there. He wasn't injured any more significantly because a safer barrier version 2 has been installed here, and he absorbed a 90G impact and just has some bruises. Now, right now, as we get set for the restart, they are talking on the radio with Danica Patrick. She has never restarted. Again, I reiterate, never restarted at the head of the field. The restart cones between turns 3 and 4, they tell her it is your race to restart. When you get ready to go, you decide when to go, but once you decide, you have got to go, because they're coming hard behind you. We'll see what happens. Guys?
And he brings up a very good point. It's kind of like the wolves on the lamb, and this is her first shot at restarting. Scotty, how many of those guys do you think are going to pounce?
The key thing, as she's doing right now, the timing have to be correct. She gets her foot on the gas, get through the gearbox, up through the gears, and lead going into turn 1, and then flat-footed all the way down the backstretch.
Mission accomplished for Danica Patrick. And Danica successful on the restart. And we've got another yellow on lap 13. It's Alex Barron, and this time, Scotty, once again, it is turn 4 as our first incident took place 1 and 2. And turn 4, Thomas Engie was just talking about it. That's where he had his problems overshooting 3.
Well, you can see he's already taking the steering wheel off the car there momentarily, so you know that he's okay. You can see the damage on the front right there with the nose, and also his right front looks like he's actually had contact with the wall or another car, so we'll have to investigate that to find out exactly what happened. But talk about another team that has not had very much luck here. And you can see on the restart, Todd, going through turn 4 where you put the power down, trying to get some acceleration coming out to get onto the front stretch, he's already got the car coming around. And there again, going into the phase 2 of the safer barrier, not near as hard as Thomas Engie did the other day, but certainly enough to put the car out of the race.
The 51 of the Red Bull Cheever Racing vehicle, that is Alex Barron, making contact with the wall on lap 13. That is our second incident in this race. Are you surprised?
You know, I'm very surprised because, you know, I know that we just came off the road course at St. Pete's a couple of weeks ago. These guys went road course testing, guy and girl, out at the Sonoma racetrack. But I have to say right now that these guys have been out here for a couple of days, and there's no need to be trying to win this race in the first 5 laps or the first 10 laps. It doesn't happen like that.
Well, 05 has been a pretty good year for Alex Barron. 2 top 10 finishes in 05, 8th at Homestead and 10th at St. Pete, as we ride on board with Darren Manning, currently 9th in points, and that is a Toyota. He's running the Panos chassis, and Darren Manning looked like he was going to have a great race at St. Pete's. He got tangled up with the AGR steamroller that was coming through the streets there, but earlier in the week, Darren Manning is celebrating his 30th birthday here in Japan, and if you don't know Darren Manning, he is a lighthearted guy, went to a local school earlier this week, and he took part of the talent show. Now, this is not an audition for the Backstreet Boys, but Darren Manning, he was working with them. Maybe, I don't know if it was on the choreography or what, but Darren Manning had a lot of fun with the kids, and I think they like Darren Manning.
Shows you how popular race drivers are anywhere around the world. He's having a great time. That's like the timber section with your kids, isn't it?
And in 2004, Darren Manning finished 4th at Twin Rings. So unlike Thomas Engie, Darren Manning, the country's been very good to him, and he enjoys coming here, as do almost every one of our drivers.
Right now, Alex Barron is running back to the I was going to say back to the pit lane, but maybe he's just trying to get off the racing surface. Maybe they think they're going to get that car repaired. Maybe they're going to take it back and change the nose cone and fix the tie rod on the right front, and maybe put the car back together, because he's now running back to his pit box explaining to those guys that the right front tie rod is actually broken.
Dr. Punch, what do you got for us?
What happened? Just cold tires?
Well, what you're watching is Alex Barron is talking to Max Jones, who is the general manager here at Red Bull Chiva Racing, and his saying is the car just abruptly snapped. We're eavesdropping here. The car abruptly snapped. Let's get it. See if we can get a comment from Max as they're trying to work on the car, and we are being told they're going to try to possibly repair the car. As we'll get a quick comment. Max, what did he say happened here just a moment ago?
I just got on it. It was going around for as many laps as we had. We got buildup on the tires, and we tried to clean them and just didn't get it all off, and he went around. So it's unfortunate.
Can you fix it?
Yeah, we're going to try. Yeah, we'll go get out there and see what we can do.
All right, we'll back out of their way, let them run back in the garage and try to get this Red Bull machine back on the racetrack, guys.
All right, thank you, Dr. Punch. You go 6,000 miles, you try to fix it, you try to get some points out of it, get him back out and running. So Team Red Bull will do just that. We'll find out if they can do it. We're going to step aside. You'll go side by side here on ESPN from Japan. Welcome back to Twin Ring Motegi for the Firestone Indy Japan 300 on ESPN. Well, so far, Scott, it has been a bit of a trying race, but Danica Patrick continues to lead. Sam Hornish Jr., who had the pole, sits in second. Scott Sharp in third, a former winner. Elio Castroneves quietly sitting in fourth. And Thomas Schechter, the man who really needs to have a clean race and bring home that car cleanly, is currently sitting in fifth as we get up to speed, going green, and hopefully we can get some laps in here at full speed. Looks like they're going to bring them together one more time and bunch the group together. And Scott, restarts have been critical, and not only from the get-go of the green flag to start this race, but the restart we saw with Alex Barron.
You know, it's about the mid-60s here today, and that's the key thing right now. Cold tire pressures and temperatures, basically, is a key thing the drivers have to watch. I mean, you're in charge of the car, so you know exactly where you're on the racetrack. Put the power down when the car is straight. Don't get the car coming around on you, and I think this is the problem that we're seeing right now, both these incidents with cold tires. Now, the key thing, let's just touch on the Panther car for a second. I spoke to John Barnes earlier this week, and he said, you know, my instructions to both my drivers this week are bring both the cars home with tires on them so we can actually roll them in the trailer and get ready for Indy, and that so far has not happened with Enge.
There's your leader, number 16, Danica Patrick, driving for Ray Hall Letterman. Behind her is Sam Hornish Jr. in the red and white car. That is the Team Penske ride. He grabbed the pole, and Danica grabbed it away from him as we are going green one more time. We're in Japan, and it's Danica Patrick leading lap number 19 of 200. Scott Sharp right up there. Right now, those three cars in the front, Scotty, seem to be pulling away with Scott Sharp getting the best benefit of the draft. But look how tight Sam Hornish Jr. is tucked in behind Danica, and looks like he's going to make a run on the inside.
Gets the draft, goes inside, you know, and he's got the Toyota power. Everybody says the Honda power is the most, but right now, a nice timing coming off of turn 2, got the slipstream, and just dove inside in turn 3.
So to Sam Hornish Jr. back in front, Danica Patrick sits in second, and Scott Sharp, the 2003 winner, sits in third. And here comes Tony Kanaan in the green and white 11 car. Sparks there giving away off of Dan Weldon's 26 Jim Beam car, and it's Elio Castroneves who is just in front of them. He is being sandwiched now in between the two Andretti green cars.
That Danny Weldon going over those bumps there, I swear I saw the back end of that car sort of move out from underneath him. Right now, we talked about those cold tire temperatures and pressures. As the cars go and run a few more laps, the pressures will build, the cars will get themselves higher off the ground. But do watch for those sparks for the first few laps.
Tony Kanaan, who started 10th, has now worked his way up to 7th place. You are looking at the leader. That was Sam Hornish Jr. And look at this. Roger Yasukawa making some moves.
Going around the outside, always very difficult to do, and going around Kotsuki Masura, I mean, a bit of a race right now for pride for both these Japanese drivers. You know, both these guys have been here doing promotion for a long period of time, and Robbie Buell is always doing things for racing with kids, and both those guys are very prominent in this area. And whoa! That is getting a little bit too close, guys.
That is Elio Castroneves on the inside, the red and white Marlboro car of Team Penske, and he is being pressured by Dan Weldon. Lets Weldon get away, but he's got more problems right behind him in the form of Buddy Rice.
Here comes Vitor Mira right now underneath the 27, Dario Franchitti. Franchitti's not going to take any of it. He's going to actually get the draft back and go back inside going into turn 1. 27 car Franchitti on the low side right now.
This is the battle for 5th place. 27 is Dario Franchitti. He moves into 5th. Vitor Mira behind him, number 17, sits in 6th. And here comes Tony Kanaan moving up and moving up quickly. Well, Well, Scott, this is lap 23 of 200, and this looks more like lap 173 of 200.
Well, you know, when you think about the first 16 or 17 are run underneath caution right now, these guys need to settle into a pace, Todd. What they need to do is just to sit back. They're going to try and trim the fuel out here right now, try and make the engines run a little bit lean, try to improve that fuel mileage so they can extend their fuel window, as we call it. But right now, these guys seem to be running more on pride. And as we watch right now with the 27, the blue and white car with red, with Dario doing a nice move underneath Thomas Scheckter. And Scheckter seems like he's fallen off the pace because on that first start and the restart, he seemed very strong.
Well, Thomas Scheckter, as we pointed out throughout the broadcast, running with a little sense of urgency of bringing that car home in one piece. And here's a guy, number 4 in the Panther Pennzoil car, who needs a victory or a top finish very badly as we get ready for the month of May and the greatest spectacle of racing, the Indianapolis 500, coming to you on May 29th on ABC Sports. There you are riding on board with Thomas Scheckter, and he's driving very smoothly, Scott, very consistent. No one's ever doubted that he's not a fast driver, as we see behind him Tony Kanaan going around Vitor Meira.
Kanaan did a nice move and did that slipstream again, getting inside and going in there, and sparks coming off the back of the car again. That's basically the rub blocks underneath the car hitting the ground. But as you look at Tony Kanaan, he certainly seems like he's setting his sights further forward.
Roger Yasukawa currently sitting behind Patrick Carpentier, Alex Barron's teammate, and that is 14th and 13th respectively. Roger Yasukawa sitting in 14th.
Now you hear them downshift going into the turn. That mostly happens just down turns 3 and 4 because, as we mentioned, this track is shaped like an egg. Turns 1 and 2 that we ride along into right now, flat, wide open. You don't hear the driver take his foot off the gas he's lifting. Remember, that's 215, 20 miles an hour these guys are going around that turn 1-2 section.
Buddy Rice and Dan Weldon, we've seen this before, and this time it's Buddy Rice on the inside. Weldon unable to continue the drive around, and those two have a little bit of history, and that opens the door for Elio Castroneves.
Absolutely. The fight went on turns 3 and 4, and Castroneves took advantage of it because Weldon had to get out of the gas.
Let's check in with Dr. Jerry Punch down on pit row.
Guys, here in the Elio Castroneves pit, you know, early on we saw Elio going back a couple of spots, and the problem was he was in a gear where he said it just wasn't pulling many RPMs. Well, he has now changed gears because of the gear ratio changes yesterday. He said the thing is really starting to pull now, so Elio has made a significant gear change, not what he expected to race in, but it's pulling much better, and he's coming back. The speeds are coming up for the 3 car.
And Doc Punch brings up a good point. Because of the long straightaways and the tightness of the turns that you have here, the gear ratios are so very important, and it's really a working relationship between the driver and the engineer, and a bit of a guess estimate of where the wind's going to be come race time, and you have to make sure you get the car just about spot on.
Dario Franchitti, number 27, the red and blue Arc X, part of the Andretti Green team, on the move once again, and it looks like everyone is trying to find the right line, Scotty, and I don't think they found it just yet.
Well, right now, everybody's just, as you say, searching for where the car is going to work best because they have not been on the track since yesterday. And Scott Sharp right now said, you know, he's just going to sit back and maybe have a look to see where he has to run the car because he thinks he's got a strong car for the end of the race.
Your top 3, Sam Hornish Jr., Danica Patrick, and Dario Franchitti. The top 3 here at the Firestone Indy Japan 300. We'll step aside, take a break. You miss nothing as we go side by side on ESPN. You just saw a great pass by Danica Patrick back in the lead. We want to remind you, a hotshot stock car driver from nowhere gets a chance to ride in the high-pressure world of the NASCAR Series. Tom Cruise and Robert Duvall star in Days of Thunder on ESPN Thursday at 7:30 Eastern. And I think they wanted Scott Goodyear for that part, but they downgraded the look department and they went with Tom Cruise. So Days of Thunder on ESPN. Great movie. Well, Danica Patrick is no Tom Cruise, but right now she doesn't need to be because she is out. Scott, this looks just like how she ran in qualifying.
You know, it's very interesting because it's noted to me right now that on the restarts, maybe her car is not very comfortable for her, but maybe on long runs, which we're going to see here right now, her car starts to come in, as we call it, and starts to get to be more comfortable to the way that she drives, and now she can keep her foot on it and carry the speed. So you got to think that as the race plays out, you always wait to see where it's going to happen at the end of the race. If it's a long run or a short run. If there's any restarts, it tells you that maybe she won't be the one to actually go across the line first.
Danica Patrick, our current leader, part of that Team Rahal Letterman. Now, Team Rahal won at Twin Ring back in 2001 with Kenny Brack during the kart series. So Danica Patrick and her team feeling very comfortable here at Twin Ring Motegi's. We check in one more time with Dr. Jerry Punch.
As you watch Sam Hornish, I mean, Hornish really having a hard time keeping the car at the bottom end of the racetrack down on the inside. He radioed a moment ago that on the first pit stop, I'm going to have some more front wing. And you can see he's very good in one end of the racetrack, but very bad in the other end. And that other end is what's costing him so much valuable time. It cost him a lead, and a moment ago cost him second spot to Dario Franchitti.
Well, Scott, they have to be so loose to be so fast, and Tim Cindric says Sam Hornish is one of the best at it.
Absolutely, but now if he wants front wing in the car, that means the car is actually pushing. It's trying to push the front of the car up to the racetrack wall on the exit of the turns, and it's going to get worse when he starts to running traffic. Like right now, running behind the blue and white car of Dario Franchitti is probably not a good thing for him. So watch him. He'll just sit back here and maybe run a pace until he can get to the first pit stop and actually start to make some adjustments, not only with the wings, but also tire pressures. And talking about tires, Firestone brought a different tire here, both on the left side and right side, a softer tire on the left, a harder tire on the right, just to sort of tweak the tire from as well as it worked last year.
There is Patrick Carpentier trying to hold off Kosuke Matsuura, Roger Yasukawa, and look at this. Kosuke Matsuura getting the pass on Carpentier, so he moves up a position up to 13th place, and Carpentier slides back as we are back on board with the very popular Kosuke Matsuura, the 55 Panasonic driver here in Japan. Not very far away he lives. Aichi, Japan is his home, making his home now in Indianapolis, Indiana. There you get a look at the 20 Vision car, that of Ed Carpenter.
Ed Carpenter is getting a little bit racy. Remember, just starting with this team at the beginning of the season, did not get any testing in whatsoever, just sort of arrived cold at Homestead. So basically a driver with not a lot of experience and a team that's just come together. Right. He's been doing a great job.
Ed Carpenter, just in front of him was Ryan Briscoe, the Australian who had his incident right after he went out and qualified, right after Thomas Indy during qualifying. So Yasukawa sits in 15th and Briscoe in 16th, and we are on board with Roger Yasukawa. He is 19 seconds behind our current leader, which just happens to be Danica Patrick. And you look at the talent behind Danica Patrick, Dario Franchitti, Sam Hornish Jr., Tony Kanaan. You expect those three there, but he's surprised by the rookie, Danica Patrick, running out in front here at Twin Ring.
We talk about the group behind her. I look at that list right now, all race winners. And right now, you know, she just has to look forward, not look in the mirrors, just listen to the instructions from the pit lane, keep her foot on the gas, hit her points around the racetrack, and now she's going to start thinking about what the car needs in the first pit stop to try and make the car better, because that's what everybody else is going to do. Make your car better so you can get it ready for the end of the race.
This is the battle for second place, the blue and red 27 of Dario Franchitti, and there is Sam Hornish Jr., your pole sitter for the start of the race. As Dr. Jerry Punch reported, he has got a bit of a push, looking for some front wing. There are your Toyota lap leaders. Danica Patrick, the rookie, and that's what the R is for, 27 of the 41, and Sam Hornish Jr., the pole sitter. So the front row pretty much owning this race thus far, but there is, once again, Tony Kanaan, number 11 in the 711 car. He has moved up to 4th place, starting 10th. So once again, Kanaan on the move.
Kanaan in that Honda power car right now, and Sam's trying to make the racetrack very wide for him, but Kanaan's going to slide down in front of him, take the air away from Hornish. And remember, Hornish has got to push anyways. He's got to get off the gas right there so the car doesn't go up towards the wall.
Dario Franchitti, also another driver on the move, 8th to 2nd right now, as we give you a quick update on the race thus far, 44 laps into it. Here's how it started in Motegi, Japan. Danica taking the lead from the pole sitter, Sam Hornish Jr. on the outside. Look at this move. Goes wide and then just drops right in like a pro. Not looking like a rookie right there. That was lap 1, but towards the back of the field, this was the incident. Jeff Bucknam, another rookie, just takes out Scott Dixon, a former IndyCar Series champion. Those two are out. Then in lap 12, Alex Barron on cold tires spins into turn 4. Word is still that he may get back into the race. And then on lap 19, Sam Hornish Jr. gets the lead back as he goes to the inside around the rookie Danica Patrick. But on lap 34, Danica Patrick says, I may be a rookie, but I sure like running out in front. And Patrick to the inside, and that's where we are right now, 46 laps in of a scheduled 200 from Twin Ring Motegi. You are up to speed. I'm out of breath. We're going to take a side-by-side break, but much more racing from Japan. You miss nothing as we go side-by-side only on ESPN. Welcome back to ESPN's coverage of the Firestone Indy Japan 300 from Twin Ring Motegi. Todd Harris along with Scott Goodyear, Dr. Jerry Punch roaming the pits, and there you see the leaderboard. It's Dario Franchitti out in front. The rookie Danica Patrick sits in second. Tony Kanaan on the move now sits in third, and your pole sitter Sam Hornish Jr. in fourth. Scott Sharp rounds out the top 5.
As we ride along there just for a moment with Kotsky Masur, I think his car is starting to go off. The handling's starting to go off because he's now being lapped and about a quick pace, but everybody going past him. Dario Franchitti's been looking very strong, and it's telling us that maybe his car is really strong as the runs go on.
Here's how Dario made his move on Danica Patrick. Shows to the outside and comes way down low to the inside.
A little bit of dirty air probably coming off the car in front of us, which was A.J. Foyt the fourth. But there again, maybe not enough experience with only 4 races in, Todd, to maybe know how to be able to use that to her advantage.
Well, Scott, a lot of different strategy playing out now as we are on lap 53. We thought the pit window would be around 40 to 44, but under the yellow, where do you think it comes in now, and do people start taking a chance?
Well, just I'm not an engineer, but a little bit quick for me, and Kanaan going right now underneath Danica Patrick, so he's on the move also, maybe taking sights on his teammate. But the key thing right now, probably laps 58 to 62, I would think by my rough estimates, that we'll start to see guys coming in.
Great starts for Tony Kanaan. He went from 10th. He is now up to 2nd. Dario Franchitti from 8th to 1st as we look at the battle between Thomas Scheckter on the right, on board with him, and that is the 17 car of Vitor Meira, part of the Ray Hall Letterman crew. And this is the battle for 6th place. And it looks like Thomas Scheckter has gotten the word, bring this thing home in one piece.
Out of the gas as you get through the turns right there, down a gear and come back onto the front stretch. You know, Vitor Meira running strong right now. Looks like he's on his way past Sharp. Got his opportunity at this race here last year for the Ray Hall Letterman team. And looks like he's running very, very strong, being able to place the car just about anywhere he wants. Tells me he's got a lot of confidence in what he's got underneath him today.
We are 55 laps complete. Speaking of strong, you got to look to Andretti Green once again. Tony Kanaan and Dario Franchitti, they have 7 starts at Twin Ring, 5 in the kart series, 2 in the Indycar series, and Franchitti finished 2nd at Twin Ring in 2000 in the kart series. But you never count out Tony Kanaan. You know, we looked at the starting grid, he started in 10th. Doesn't mean anything to Tony Kanaan. That just means it's to take a second or two faster for him to get in the top 3.
Well, especially on a racetrack like here at Motegi, it's 80 feet wide. There's just a lot of room to pass here. But then again, you know something? It's also a lot of room for drivers to get in trouble also.
On board with Thomas Scheckter, the Panther Pennzoil yellow car, one of the most highly visible cars. You know it well, Scotty. The number 4, and Scheckter doing a great job. And there's starting to be chatter on the radios about pitting at lap 57. So, Scott, you may be right. You're not an engineer, but you certainly play one on TV as we ride on board with Ryan Briscoe.
You see, he's struggling with the car right now, riding along with Ryan Briscoe with a brand new Pioneer sponsorship, new livery on that Chip Ganassi car right now. He's struggling. I've been there before when a car doesn't handle very well. He's just trying to keep out of everybody's way, Todd.
Dan Weldon making the pass on Elio Castro Neves, and you got to look to Danica Patrick. She is a rookie, but she has had clean pit stops all year long, something that Tony Kanaan could have used desperately at St. Petersburg last month.
And the key thing right now, under green, pit stops are really important because your in-lap and out-lap are so important. Your in-lap is when you get the call to come into the pit lane. You got to get off the racetrack into the pit lane as quickly as possible, get to that 60-mile-an-hour speed, get into your pit box. Once the service is done, get back out, and it's getting up to speed as we watch Vitor Meira right now accelerate out of his pit box. The key thing for him is to get out 60 miles an hour, and once you get onto the racetrack, your first lap has to be ultimately very quick.
Vitor Meira makes his pit stop. Here comes Sam Hornish Jr. as we check in with Dr. Jerry Punch.
Sam Hornish making his first scheduled stop. It'll be a 3 pit stop race. He did not make a front wing change. They made a significant air pressure adjustment. He had trouble getting it full of fuel, almost stalls the car, and Hornish is away.
Buddy Rice also with a clean pit stop. He is out as well, so they will recycle back into the pack. It is still Dario Franchitti and Danica Patrick going 1 and 2. Scott Sharp sits in 3rd, but they have yet to pit as we watch Sam Hornish Jr., the pole sitter here at Twin Ring, come out of his pits, and he is complete. And that is Koski Matsur, number 55. As he goes to a tear-off there, he will look for his pits right now, and it's got always a little dicey. As Danica Patrick also coming down pit row. It's always dicey, the first pit stop of a big race like this.
Always is. You have to hit your marks. That's what she's being told right now. That left front actually has to hit right where the work person is. 4 tires off, 4 new Firestone Firehawks on, 30 gallons of fuel. And right now the key thing, get a clean stop and accelerate once you are told.
Wow. You know, she's a rookie, but she does not look like a rookie. So Danica Patrick getting there. And Dario Franchitti now coming down pit row, and our Dr. Jerry Punch is waiting for him.
60 miles an hour. That's the speed on pit road here, guys. And Franchitti was the class of the field yesterday in the final practice session. The car, as he puts it, is flawless, guys. Don't change a thing. Put 4 fresh Firestone Firehawks on it. And we're going to keep an eye on Danica Patrick, and she's had a great pit stop now. Franchitti is down on the way. Great pit stop here for the Arca X Andretti Green guys.
And a little further down pit row, that is the 26 of Dan Weldon, the Klein Tools car, and looks like they're holding him a little longer. Looks like he got a little front wing there, Scott.
He got lots of turns front wing there. It looked like probably about 3 turns, so it tells you that that car was not working well for him. And you can actually tell because at one point he was very close to Franchitti, and then Franchitti's already out on the racetrack going into turn 3, and Weldon's just getting out of pit lane. Now, we talked about the outlap. Sorry, Todd. We talked about the outlap. We'll see how good Danica Patrick's outlap was, and we'll see if actually Franchitti can come back out in front of her, or if he's going to end up slotting in behind her.
And I've got to ask you, is this just brilliant strategizing by Andretti Green? Because they bring all their drivers in, and Brian Herta's out there, and there's a yellow, and Brian Herta now another Andretti Green team to the front of the pack. So who does this help as we go yellow for debris on the track?
Probably good timing right now for both Herta and Kanaan. So the key thing now is that they get an opportunity to go ahead and maybe do this pit underneath yellow. We understand it's going to be debris, so it'll be a very fast pit stop.
As they bring the cars down to speed, the pace car will come back out. Well, the rhythm of this race has not been one that has been flawless or seamless. It has been a little bit herky-jerky, as they would say. But so far, Andretti Green seems to be at the right place at the right time, a theme that we have kind of echoed through 04 and 05. And right now it is Brian Herta, the number 7 car out in front, with Dario Franchitti in second, Roger Yasukawa sitting in third, as we check in with our Dr. Jerry Punch.
What a break for Brian Herta. Take a look at George Klotz, the team manager, talking to Brian on the radio, and behind them is Michael Andretti. They're watching. They have been bitten a couple of times this year, and at least once last year by pit strategy. They pitted early, the yellow would come out, and they would be the victim. Today, they may be the recipient of a great opportunity for strategy. They had not pitted, the yellow comes out, and now they can make their pit stop under yellow, and apparently they're going to work on a bit of an understeer problem, but a break finally goes Brian Herta's way.
And fuel numbers are so important, and having the ability to keep your driver out as long as possible really comes down to the calculations for the fuel person, and Brian Page on the Herta team right there has the opportunity to make that call, and boy, it's a call that you want to do right, and he certainly did that once, did it just perfectly.
Well, they're saying that he came in earlier during those long yellows on lap 16, so he doesn't have to come in. So it's Yasukawa and Foyt, the 4th, are the only drivers who have not pitted. So that really shakes up the strategy here, Scotty. I mean, you think if you're the rest of the field, Brian Herta is basically out there with a gimme on lap 16 during the yellow, so he can go quite a bit further, and this is not a good thing for Ray Hall Letterman, the Menards car. Johns Manville of Vitor Meira, number 17, in, and this is not a routine pit stop.
Certainly isn't. The back cowling's coming off for the engine, which is actually just back here, and the front section's coming off here, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But, you know, back to the Herta situation right now, yes, he can go off and run a few more laps, but boy, I got to tell you, I think I would take advantage of this yellow right now and come in here and actually do it when the pace is going very slow.
There you see the last 3 races for the 7 car of Brian Herta. Very successful at St. Petersburg as he grabbed the pole. Well, as we go yellow, we step aside, take a break from Twin Ring Motegi, Japan. It's the Firestone Indy Japan 300. You enjoy this side-by-side on ESPN. Feel like you'd like to drive that race in May?
You know, after all those years of doing it and coming so close, you know, I'm happy just to sit up in the booth right now. It's a little bit safer, but we talk about champions coming back, and one of the favorites coming back this year has to be Buddy Rice. The winner in 1996 has joined the Panther team as a 3rd car. A lot of excitement over there in that garage and in that shop right now about having a veteran like him with all the experience as part of that whole Panther organization.
And there is the 8 car of Scott Sharp, a guy who's had success. It has been up and down. He was a winner here in 2003, had a rough year in 2004, but 2005 means a brand new day for Scotty Sharp.
I'm just so excited to get in a competitive car. You know, the last few years when you gentlemen, start your engines and you're in the back of the field and you're hoping to break into the top 10 for an intensely competitive person is pretty rough. So I'm just excited to get in a car and be with a team that has a chance probably every race to compete for the win.
And Scott Sharp on a very competitive team with a lot of experience. Adrian Fernandez, a great driver in his own right, but he wins at Twin Ring in 98 and 99 in the kart series. So Scott Sharp, a winner in 2003, looking to bring back that magic of that season. And while we're in side-by-side, you saw Brian Herta pitting. I don't know if he listened to his mother, but he certainly listens to our Scott Goodyear, because you said this would be an opportune time for him to come in when the pace is so low. So let's put that back in our memory banks as you rub the crystal ball. Brian Herta, a guy that is certainly due for a victory.
Well, it gives him the opportunity when everybody else has to go in and pit when they're running out of fuel. Gives him that extra maybe 8 or 10 laps now, because he's come in just a little bit later. It gives him the option whether he chooses to pit with everybody else or maybe comes in and when the next yellow comes around like he caught it right now.
So meanwhile, he pits out of sequence, and that was Vitor Meira as the green flag comes out. They are up to speed once again. We are off and driving at Twin Ring Motegi.
Talk about Scott Sharp getting racy. There he is right now, running hard down on the inside of the racetrack.
Dario Franchitti, number 27, is your leader. How long will that last as his teammate, number 11, Tony Kanaan, is on the outside. Does he have the run to drop down? Not this time. Oh, my. That was a big lift.
I'll tell you what, and that's, when Dario Franchitti came into this series as a road course master, I sort of questioned whether or not he'd enjoy himself and run strong on ovals. But right now, he's showing that he just keeps his foot right in it.
I know I sound like a broken record. We've got a yellow at Twin Ring Motegi. Once again, there is debris. Now, you saw the sparks coming out of the cars. Those are the titanium skid plates. Is there something they possibly missed?
Well, let's also remember that the whole thing right now is just after running a few laps under cold situations. Scott Sharp is going to come out and pull out right now and get pushed down by Danica. Says, I don't think I'm going to give you any room, but Sharp says, I'm coming through anyways. But you see the sparks coming out that you alluded to right there. Remember, after you run underneath a caution period for a few laps, those tire pressures come back down again. The car gets lower to the ground, so it takes a few laps to get up to speed and bring those tire pressures up and the temperatures up to sort of raise the car away from the ground again.
27 is your current leader. That is Dario Franchitti. His teammate is 11, Tony Kanaan. They are the first two. Vitor Meira still in the pits, and that's where we find our Dr. Jerry Punch.
Well, thanks, guys. We're continuing on the Menards Johns Mansville machine here for Ray Hall Letterman and Vitor Meira. The problem, a left front wishbone failure. They are working on repairing the wishbone. That's basically the suspension parts, the Y-shaped parts, or V-shaped parts, rather, in the lower part of the left front suspension. So they're trying to get that repaired. Vitor remains in the car. A tough way to spend his birthday, basically a one-year anniversary. His very first Indycar Series start came at this racetrack a year ago, still hunting for that elusive first win. Guys?
And Doc, while you're on the repair mode, have you heard anything about Alex Barron? I know he was talking about getting the car fixed and getting back into this. With so many yellows, is there any chance that we'll see him again?
Down toward his pits, his Red Bull pits. He said the car is almost fixed and he is ready to go. Now we'll keep an eye and let you know, but he is back out on pit road, uniform on, hoping to get the Red Bull Cheever machine back out ASAP.
All right, thank you, Dr. Jerry Punch, one of the best in the business, as we go now to the Marlboro Team Penske. And we've got something going on here. It looks like they're going to have to change the whole front nose wing for Sam Hornish Jr.
Now that front nose wing, as you see, is very quick to go on and off by just two quick fasteners, as they call it, but we'll have to see what's going on here.
This is on board with Thomas Schechter moments ago. Wow.
That's
a piece of something.
That's a piece of wing actually going over, which maybe actually is why we saw the wing being changed on.
It was red. You're
on
right.
Hornish's car. So we'll have to see if that is the case.
Well, it definitely wasn't one of those fried fish on a sticks that we saw earlier in the show. It looks like it might have been a piece of the Team Penske 6. As we will step aside, take a local commercial. No side-by-side this time. We are still under yellow. We'll be back with more. Dario Franchitti continues to lead.
Back at Twin Ring Motegi, the Firestone Japan Indy 300 under yellow once again for debris on the racetrack. And here is exactly what happened with the debris. They are working on Sam Hornish's front wing. Sam hit the debris and sheared off the outside of his front wing. That's why he had to make a quick dash on the pit road. And here the Marlboro Team Penske guys are trying to repair this wing. They will take the right side off and put a new right front on the wing. So this one will be able to go back on if Sam Hornish would need it. Debris on the racetrack. Hornish had to come in quickly for a wing change. Guys?
All right, thank you, Doc, as they continue to work on that. And Sam Hornish back out there. Unfortunately, Hornish has been recycled back to 13th place as the cars get back up to speed. It's lap 75 complete as they come around, and it's green flag once again.
And this will be a true testament to see how well Sam Hornish's car is working, Todd, because he's the last car on the lead lap right now. So give him about 5 or 10 laps, and let's see how far forward he can move.
A quick change now. Dario Franchitti slides back to second, and it is Tony Kanaan in the front. Your new leader, Tony Kanaan. Now, in 2004, Dan Weldon led 192 of 200 laps, and he finished first. In 2003, Tony Kanaan led 70 of 200 laps, and there you see the team total 262 of 400. Kanaan's third race led in 05, and he failed to lead at St. Pete, breaking his consecutive races lead streak at 12. So safe to say, or suffice it to say, I should say, Tony Kanaan is the picture of consistency, and Danica Patrick getting back around Scott Sharp, a former winner here at Twin Ring.
You know, if you had to sit back right now and look at guys and girls that you might want to pick to actually win this event, you know, if I was a betting person right now, you know, I picked maybe Scott Sharp at the very opening of this because I thought he was having a very good weekend. But Danica Patrick has really shown that she has the tenacity right now not to give up.
Well, it's all smiles at Twin Ring Motegi if you're an executive of Honda, because right now the top 6 cars are all Hondas. Now, this is their home track. It's kind of like the Yankees coming into Fenway Park and knocking the Sox around, and right now they are holding their own at their home court. Twin Ring Motegi, one of the nicest facilities in the world. It is the Honda home track, and right now it is all Hondas in the top 6 positions. You have to go back to Thomas Schechter, who sits in 7th to break up the Honda train, and behind him is Herta, another Honda. So it's the Chevrolet in 7th that really breaks up the Honda Express.
Well, you know, the top Toyotas always seem to be Penske so far this year, and there's been some rumbling in the paddock even this week here that maybe Penske has a little bit different Toyota than everybody else up and down the pit lane. So it'll be interesting to see throughout the month of May if that actually continues. And on that note, let me just add that Penske just made an announcement this past week with Porsche that they're going to enter into endurance racing. And the big rumor going around now is that when the rule engine changes come out in 2007, will there maybe be a Porsche power plant in the back of a Penske car? So let me put that one out there and let's see what people think about that.
Something to banter about on your morning Java as we take a look at our Toyota lap leaders. Danica Patrick, the rookie, 32 of 78. Dario Franchitti, 24. Sam Hornish Jr., the pole sitter at 14. And Brian Herta, a brief appearance at the front of the pack with 5 laps led. But you look at that list, and there's 2, let's make that 3 lap leaders, all coming from Andretti Green. There is the 15 of Buddy Rice as he gets a quick view from Thomas Schechter. And I've got to say, Thomas Schechter is driving very controlled. Do you think that's because his teammate Thomas Engett is out of the race?
Well, right now, remember, you're still less than halfway through the race right now. You have to play it smart. Those times to turn the red mist on is really in the last couple of laps. And right now, Thomas Schechter is seeing a mirrorful. Right now, Brian Herta right behind him in that number 7 car coming up behind him. And he's, you know, maybe not running as strong as pace as he wants. You have to question, is he running a leaner fuel mixture, maybe trying to save a little bit of fuel with that Chevrolet? We really don't know, but we'll just have to sit back and wait and see. But you can see how much quicker he is coming onto the main straight than Brian Herta was.
But what I've got to say for Thomas Schechter is he's got to be in the battle to finish the battle. And it's something he hasn't been able to do in 05 and much of 04. So he's doing a great job with 83 laps complete. It is coming up on the halfway point. And here's a great battle. Brian Herta was going to work on Thomas Schechter. Herta, the number 7 in the yellow and black XM satellite car. And now he's getting pressured by the 3, and that is Helio Castro-Neves, who started in 4th position. He's kind of been up and down through the pack. And right now, Castro-Neves sits in 9th.
And very closely in his mirror right now is actually his teammate car, number 6, the other red and white car of Sam Hornish Jr., who we mentioned a second ago, was actually coming in after that pit stop of changing the nose, coming back on 13th spot. So he's actually starting to march his way forward.
As your running order goes by on the top of your screen, it's Dario Franchitti, Tony Kanaan, Dan Weldon, and Danica Patrick running up with the big boys. Scott Sharp currently sits in 5th, and there you see our race summary of Dario Franchitti. He has led 28 laps, and we've had 5 of 7 leaders and lead changes. Much of those, Scotty, coming after the yellow flags came out, but there you see the 2 Penske teammates, Elio Castroneves, the 3 car, the 6 car of Sam Hornish Jr. Elio has not had noticeable problems where he's had to come in and change them. Sam had to come in, obviously, and change that front nose cone, but what do you think, 2 players at the end of the race?
Well, possibly, but right now Sam looks like he's using a lot of racetrack coming off of turn 4, but he did quickly catch up to his teammate, and I've always said catching up is one thing and being able to pass is another, so we'll have to wait to see if he can actually get this pass done.
Elio Castroneves just happy to be in there. 86 laps. As you remember, St. Pete's, he went out very early, and it looks like Sam Hornish is going to try the inside. Elio's going to have to let him in.
Maybe not.
He's saying, come on, teammate, in the phrase of Gilles de Ferrin, ay, 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 as we send it down to Dr. Jerry Punch.
Oh, don't you love a little teamwork here? These guys are teammates in the garage, but not on the racetrack. They are battling side by side. We showed you Sam Hornish had to make a wing change. Elio Castroneves had to make a major front wing adjustment because he was battling an understeer, but apparently they've got it pretty close because these guys are pretty close on the racetrack now.
I'd love to know what Roger Penske's thinking right now. I know there's always a battle between him and the team leader, Tim Sindrich, but very interesting. There you see the man on point, number 27, the Arca X. That is Dario Franchitti, your leader, with his teammate Tony Kanaan sitting in 2nd, and another teammate, Dan Weldon, sitting in 3rd. We'll step aside. You go side by side here on ESPN. Konnichiwa, Motegi Nihon Yokoso. For those of you who speak Japanese, welcome back to Motegi Twin Ring on a beautiful afternoon. And here's what we've got thus far. It's Dario Franchitti out in front with 91 laps complete. His teammate Tony Kanaan and Dan Weldon occupying the top 3 spots. Dan Weldon, of course, the winner last year. Danica Patrick, the rookie, sitting in 4th place. And Scott Sharp, a winner in 2003, the top 5. A lot of talent up in the front of there, and I've got to be impressed most of all with Danica Patrick, the way she has run thus far.
Not only on the racetrack, but also did a great job during the pit stop so far. A lot of pressure, especially when you're this far away from home and you're running in front of all the Honda brass that are out here. A lot of pressure because Honda really supports the Rahal team, so she knows she has to get the job done.
Well, there's the Andretti Green team. Once again, it's the 4-headed monster. They are running 1, 2, 3. If Brian Herta can recycle himself back up front, remember, he's got 2 pits under his wing, so he sits in 8th place. And Michael Andretti and Kim Dream, I don't know what they've done, if they've sold their soul to the devil or what, but they have got 4 great drivers that always seem to be in the top 10.
You know, they've got such a great collection of ownership there, along with Kevin Savary also to name another one to that list. But you have to say that's a support group of all the engineers, all the team. I mean, I've been in that race shop, you know, and all 4 of those team cars get along well with each other. It really is like a huge family, and I think that's the key to the success there. Michael's been on the other side of it. He knows you have to have a friendly environment for everybody to work well, to have a good running team.
And this is no fluke. The Twin Ring was very kind to AGR last year in 04. They went 1 and 2 with Weldon getting the victory and Tony Kanaan getting 2nd. As you are looking at Danica Patrick, number 16, Rahal Letterman, started 2nd, quickly ran up front, and there you see where she's been, Scotty. For a rookie, you've got to be, if you're Bobby Rahal, you've got to be extremely pleased the way she's running.
Well, it would be a great feather in the cap of Bobby Rahal because he was the one that introduced Honda to IndyCar racing many, many years ago, and he sort of went away from the program, and now he's back with them. So I'm sure that he would be able to love to take home one of the Motegi trophies for his trophy case.
Danica Patrick, the young lady out of Roscoe, Illinois, in the 16 car of Rahal Letterman Racing, Argent Power, and Pioneer, as we check in with Dr. Jerry Punch.
And guys, you know, you got to love Danica because when she qualified on the front row, the first thing she did in the post-qualifying press conference was give credit to her teammates, the strength of her teammates, you know, Vitor Mira and Buddy Rice, and talk about how she really appreciated Bobby Rahal and this whole team believing in her to give her a chance. I mean, it's great when you do something, but it's also wonderful when you remember the people that were there to get you here. Danica showed a lot of promise, and Bobby Rahal stood up and said, you know what? I knew she was going to come quickly, come in a hurry, and learn a lot, but I had no idea it would be this quickly. He believes she is the real deal, and we're going to see more and more of Danica, maybe even as soon as the month of May.
You got to be kidding me. Look at this. She makes a move on Dan Weldon, the defending champion here at Twin Ring Motegi. Rookie or not, she is just showing us something here as we get ready for Indianapolis 500 next month. Danica Patrick looks like she can drive all the way back.
You know, she's got a strong car coming off turns 3 and 4. Weldon maybe not so strong. You can see it right there. He got hung up in traffic a little bit, but give her credit, didn't take her foot off the gas whatsoever. Side by side at over 215 miles an hour right now, Todd. A lot of dirty air coming off the car beside you, and she's just keeping her foot into it. And a guy that's going to take advantage of this right now, possibly Scott Sharp.
Well, as they say in Japanese, and you know I've been trying to perfect my Japanese all week, yoku dekimashita. That is, I can't believe what she just did, or great job. And I figured by the end of the race, I'm going to be relatively fluent.
You know, you're doing such a great job there. I saw you trying to order food today in the Japanese restaurant, though, and I was surprised when they didn't give you a fish on a stick.
Fish on a stick is something I haven't learned to appreciate. It's Dario Franchitti, Tony Kanaan, Dan Weldon, your top 3. Danica Patrick sits in 4th, Scott Sharp in 5th, and once again, Honda looking very good. And look at this. Buddy Rice has now moved up to 6th place, and I talked to Buddy Rice a few weeks ago, and he has welcomed Danica Patrick on this team because it has taken so much pressure and spotlight off of him. You win the Indy 500, and people tend to give you a lot more attention maybe than you want. Buddy Rice is certainly a character that the media loves to talk with, but he has had a lot of pressure taken out because of the appearance of Danica Patrick and the way she's driven.
As they say, if you win Indy, it changes your life, and it certainly has done that for him. I remember him telling me that he wasn't at home any time more than 3 or 4 days in a row, and he was really welcoming the time around Christmas just to get a chance to sort of chill back, as he called it, and, you know, go and play with his hot rods.
Buddy Rice picking up cars, visiting with presidents, getting choppers. It's all in the day's work for an Indy winner, as we got some great battling right here. Now, some of these are back markers as they move their way through. It's Franchitti, Kanaan, Weldon, and Patrick, the top 4, then Sharp and Rice. Schechter currently sits in 7th, and Brian Herta holds down 8th. Then you've got the Team Penske boys of Hornish Jr. and Castro Neves that round out the top 10.
You know, the key thing right now, you're talking about prepping yourself, getting ready for Indianapolis, and what Danica Patrick's getting the opportunity to do right now is to ride along with Thomas Schechter. Just watch his hands, listen to the throttle. Hard on the gas, does not lift off. He's going to try to take advantage of a slipstream here. Goes through the gearbox right now. Rice is trying to push him down low on the racetrack, and here he goes up high. Man, he drove that thing in there so hard, and I thought he was about ready to go. Here comes Rice. Now he's going to come back around the inside. This is a sort of thing that drivers love, you know. This is what they call tit for tat. We're going to turn around and get a situation here. Dirty air coming off the car in front. He'll carry more speed coming out of this turn, and maybe Rice is better down the other end. We talked about that egg-shaped racetrack that we have here. Cars can't work the best at both ends. There's a bit of a compromise, and actually right now, Rice in the 15 car that's running ahead of you right there knew exactly where Schechter was going to go, and he turned around and ran the low line just to block him and take his air away.
And I have to imagine Buddy Rice has a big smile on his face as we are lap 106, just past halfway. Quick race summary for you. Lap 34, it's Danica Patrick in the lead. The young rookie making a nice move to the inside as she goes to the front of the pack here at Twin Ring. And then Dario Franchitti on lap 48, he made the pass on Danica Patrick. So Danica continues to learn passing and getting past. A lot of passes for the lead, and on lap 75, it was Tony Kanaan who would go to the front. Remember, he started 10th. Pretty much means nothing to Tony Kanaan because you can put him in the back of the field, and Dario Franchitti gets him back on lap 85. So the same players really running at the front of the pack, but we've got a lot of passing. And speaking of which, it is Thomas Schechter in the yellow car sliding once again behind Buddy Rice. The racing continues from Japan. You miss nothing as we go side by side. Firestone Indy Japan 300. Two great Samurai Warriors going at it. The yellow 4 car of Thomas Schechter now starting to get some pressure on the inside as he was going to battle with Buddy Rice, and the rumor is a black flag comes out for Buddy Rice.
Well, absolutely. What he's doing right now, we mentioned it just a few laps ago, he's actually starting to not run his normal line in turns 3 and 4 before, and went ahead of Schechter and tried to chop him down to the grass area, and he's been doing it continuously here. You can't get away with that at 215 or 20 miles an hour.
Well, look on the left side of your screen. There it is. There's a yellow and there's a black. So Buddy Rice gets a black flag. He was running in 6th. What does that mean for him now?
It means he'll come in, and these guys are right now running underneath green, Todd. He's got to go down a lap because the pace out there is so fast, no matter how quick he gets into the pits and then comes out. And he'll get a stop and go. And here he comes right now. He's got to carry speed in the pit lane. Remember, it's 60 miles an hour along pit lane. And then right now he's going to, and this is a bit of good luck for Buddy Rice, let me tell you that, if this track's going to go yellow right
24, Roger Yasukawa. We've got something coming out of the back, and you got to be exactly right. I don't think Buddy Rice is Irish, but the luck of the Irish is shown on him right now as he comes in for stop and go. Roger Yasukawa has something let loose. It looks like it's coming out of that right rear side.
Right rear side, possibly out of the tailpipe. You don't want to say it's something to do with the engine right now, but remember, these motors are running at 10,300 RPM around this racetrack, and it is punishing. These engines really just have to hang on all day long, and Honda has such a great reputation for reliability, as Toyota and Chevrolet does, but you know, maybe they're trying something a little bit different here just before the Indy 500. We don't know.
Roger Yasukawa's last lap, a 194.5.
Okay, and you see this flagman right now that we saw just waving that flag. That's telling all the drivers that the pit is closed, that they have to stay out on the racetrack, that no one's allowed to enter into the pit lane, although I do believe that Buddy Rice was probably inside the pit lane and ready to take his stop and go penalty, and probably will end up coming out on the lead, or on the tail end of the lead lap rather, and so that's a luck on his side. He won't lose a lap.
Well, very frustrating for the 24 of Roger Yasukawa, who started 21st. He's out of Los Angeles, California, driving for Dreyer and Reinbold Racing, and he had his best finish of 05 at St. Pete. And it does not look like Roger Yasukawa is going to be able to equal that. He got an 11th at St. Petersburg, and that's just dejection on his face.
You know, and the key thing with that group, I think I started to say earlier in the race, is that with Robbie Buell for Racing for Kids, they actually went and visited a lot of children's hospitals here. They've been here doing promotion for about 10 days beforehand, and I think Robbie Buell and his group has actually visited over 1,000 hospitals at all different racetracks around the world, basically, in his tenure of doing his program for Racing for Kids.
Robbie Buell, one of the nicest guys around the track, isn't he?
Absolutely, and you know, this was his last race here. Just a year ago, decided to hang it up and retire and become a team owner along with Dennis Reinbold.
There you see the 15, Buddy Rice, 19th at Homestead. Not the way he started. Remember, he is the defending Indianapolis 500 champion, a tall order for him, but like you said earlier, he's got to be one of the favorites. I'd say he and Tony Kanaan and Dan Weldon.
Absolutely one of the favorites anywhere on a fast track, mile and a half or faster. They don't have a strong 1 mile program, but certainly can run fast to Indy next month.
While the pace comes down and we run under yellow, we want to remind you that later this year we are going road racing Infineon Raceway, formerly known as Sears Point in Sonoma, California. Scotty, the buzz among all the drivers is they can't wait to get there. This was the testing. It was fabulous.
Now look at this, going up the hills, down the hills, a little bit of wiggle coming out of the back of Frankitti's car right there. The drivers loved it. Spoke to many of them afterwards. They say, what a great thing to do, go up and down the hills and blind turns.
Franchitti, Castroneves, and Dixon, the top three there at testing, as Buddy Rice will come in and the pits opened up. And we want to remind you, August 28th, that's a Sunday, Infineon Raceway on ESPN. Should be great. Buddy Rice just gets a quick splash.
Well, he gets a quick splash. He's already served his stop-and-go penalty pre-4 when the yellow came out, and he's at the back of the queue right now. He's the last car in the lead lap, so he takes this opportunity under yellow just to get a bit of a splash and go, as you called it, and just to fill up the fuel tank.
And here's Roger Yasukawa on the right-hand side. Something, oh, wow, it really gave way. Now, Scotty, they're going to have to check the entire track to see if oil didn't get out there.
They will do that. And you know something? He knew something was going on with the car because he was on the high side. He started to slow down, and you get that feeling in the car, Todd, when something happens. And now the pits are opening up, and this is what I call traffic day.
It's like a Sooner rush for land as we go down to Dr. Jerry Punch.
And guys, a big break for Dario Franchitti, who had complained of a vibration just 2 laps before the yellow came out, and the vibration got even worse. The concern was, had he cut a tire and wasn't going down? Great pit stop from the Arca X team. They're holding for fuel. Franchitti getting down. Looking on, Herta. There's a race to the end of the road.
Well, the Andretti Green team, Dr. Punch, by virtue of being way down at the front of pit row, Dario Franchitti, and look at Brian Herta. He was in at 7th, came out at 2nd. So it's Franchitti, Herta, Weldon, and Sharp. And once again, it's Andretti Green holding down 3 of the top 4 spots.
Well, one of the key things you can do when you're right at the very entrance to the racetrack, and we call that right down the pits 1, 2, 3, and 4, is that you can do a short fill. So maybe Herta's team was watching everybody else start to leave their pit lane and release the car a little bit earlier. We just don't know how much fuel possibly got in Brian Herta's tank.
And the Japanese god smiling upon Buddy Rice. He is back in 9th in front of Thomas Scheckter. We're going to step aside, take a local break. No side-by-side this time, folks, but we will bring you up to speed if anything happens. You're watching ESPN's coverage of the Firestone Indy Japan 300. We are set to go green once again here at Twin Ring Motegi, about 50 miles north of Tokyo, as we are green flag, and Sam Hornish takes a look, decides not to make a move on Tony Kanaan, but that's not the same for Brian Herta. Yeah, you're my teammate, Dario, but I'm taking a look on the outside, but he's opening up the inside to Dan Weldon. Does he lose a spot there?
All three Andretti green cars right now, and Danny Weldon, 26 years old, the youngest guy out of all three of those drivers right now, goes from third, and there, Franchitti up into the turn 4 wall. Just got a bit of dirty air coming off of Danny Weldon, had to run high to give him a bit of space, and just started staying the car directly into the wall.
And you know, moments ago, Dr. Jerry Punch was reporting on the radio that the Andretti green folks were saying, Dario, you definitely have the strongest of our team cars, the strongest of the 4, and just like that, his fortunes turned terrible, and adding insult to injury, he's got no brakes. And Michael's got to be saying, you got to be kidding me.
Well, the thing that Michael's thinking right now, because he probably hasn't had a chance to see it on the monitor, all he knows is that all 3 cars that he owns actually went into turn 1, and then only 2 of them come out of turn 4 running. The other one's actually missing the right-hand side. So that'll be a bit of a debrief in the trailer after this. I'd love to be a fly in the wall to sort of listen to what's going on there.
Yeah, physically he's okay. Mentally, I'm sure he is furious. And you remember back at Phoenix, he was a little bit upset with his teammate. You talk about it being a family. The family's not without its squabbles, but he was a little upset with Dan Weldon the way he was driving, and he's taking a look at the car like maybe something gave loose.
Well, you know, the way that it broke away, one of 2 things happens. I think right now, because he started to leave a little bit of room for Weldon going on the inside, you can see this right now. You see the right-hand side of the car is just up on the gray, just a little bit, just out of the black, and I would say that, you know, maybe that right side just started to lose a little bit of grip. Remember, we're only a couple of laps in after the green flag, after a long caution period. So there's Danny Weldon, 26, the red and white car on the bottom, and there for sure the right-hand wheels are just really on the gray section out of the black. There's no grip there, Todd, and that car just took off like something almost broke, but it's just from a lack of grip.
So Dario Franchitti gets in the marbles, and he pays the price as we check in with Dr. Jerry Punch, who's standing by with Kyle Moyer.
Well, Kevin Savary is here, Kyle Moyer is here, and Kyle, I just cannot believe the luck you guys have had. You've had the fastest car in the last 2 races and looked to be the dominant car today, and it goes away. I can see the dejection all around the pits.
Yeah, it's 3 in a row. We aren't bringing nothing home today at all. That hurts in the championship. I'd like to say hi to the guys back home that got hurt in the accident, Tino, Scott, and Jeff. But yeah, I mean, we're going to make a run for the championship. We got good cars. We got to win races.
From your vantage point, could you have any idea what happened? I know Dario still had a radio communications prior to climbing out.
Well, I think Dario liked being up front, and he wanted to be back up front too quick. That's all. He forced an issue he probably shouldn't have right now.
All right, Kyle Moyer here as a couple of cars come down pit road. A total devastation here in the ARCA X pit. They truly believed, and I think everyone was convinced that they had the car to beat here today.
No question, Doc. And Dario had led 67 laps, most of any driver today. And we want to reiterate also, our thoughts go out to those. What happened was the guys were trying to make a flight, get back to San Francisco quick after the Infineon testing, and they were involved in an auto accident. And we sent our very best out to them. So we are back under yellow here at Twin Ring Motegi. We will step aside, bring you up to speed as we go side by side. Back with more after this.
And as you look at the Dan Weldon pits here and John Anderson, we will tell you that Dan Weldon very concerned that he may have had some involvement in causing his teammate Dario Franchitti to lose it, but they have reassured Weldon after watching the replays here that he had nothing to do with it. And it was cold tires, and they're saying Franchitti may have been up a little too high and the car just lost grip and went up across the racetrack. Weldon very upset he may have harmed his teammate, but they are reassuring him, no, not at all. You had nothing to do with that. Now focus on this race and win it for all of us. That's the conversation from Anderson to Dan Weldon here just a moment ago. Guys?
All right, thanks, Dr. Jerry Punch down there on pit row. And we continue racing here. When we go green, it is Dan Weldon out in front as we look at Buddy Rice, the defending Indianapolis 500 champion. He had a black flag, came in, and fortunately for him, Roger Yasukawa had an incident, so he was able to get out of the pits, and it moved him up. He really only lost 1 or 2 spots. He now sits in 10th. 2 spots behind Thomas Scheckter, and this guy is an all-American hot rodder. In the streets of Phoenix and the streets of Indianapolis, it's Buddy Rice, certainly with all kinds of style. Scotty, he was so dominant last year, and it all culminated with a big sip of milk, and we all remember that one. We were on the air for over 8 hours, and it was worth every last second. And we remind you, Memorial Day weekend means the greatest spectacle in racing. That's right, join ABC at the legendary Brickyard for the 89th running of the Indianapolis 500. Defending champion Buddy Rice, 2-time winner Elio Castroneves, and series champion Tony Kanaan will head a field of the best drivers on the planet Sunday, May 29th on ABC Sports. A few changes at the Speedway, 4 days of qualifying. They'll be bumping every day. More on that in a moment. 69 cars have entered, 33 will start, and it's been repaved. They're expecting much faster speeds. Can Andretti Green do it? That's the big question. And a new start time of noon Eastern. So, Scotty, month of May comes around and everything turns different in Indianapolis, as you very well know. With the 4 days of bumping and bumping every day, that is going to be very interesting.
I think the key thing right now is that you could put as many cars in the field as possibly you could run in one given day, but now the rules state that you can only put in 11 cars each day, and then if you are in the top 11 and somebody runs faster, you're going to get bumped out of the field. But the good thing about this is once you had your car in the field, if you got bumped, then that car was done. But each car now has 3 opportunities to take a qualifying attempt, so it's going to make for some very interesting strategies come the month of May, and I'm excited about it. And stay tuned every hour of qualifying we have, because there's going to be a lot going on.
Great coverage on ESPN, ESPN2, and of course the race on ABC Sports. It's kind of like a 200-mile-an-hour case of musical chairs. You better have a chair and a slot on the grid when the music stops and the green flag comes out.
Now let me just explain what's going on here just very quickly. Is that they're running through the pit lane right now because of all the debris and the cleanup that's going on the front straight. Nobody can actually have any service work done in the pit lane right now because the pit lane is theoretically closed, although they're actually driving through it to use it as a pass-through lane.
A very docile race other than the yellow flags as they continue to clean the surface here at Twin Ring. Motegi will step aside. You stay side by side. This is ESPN's coverage of the Firestone Indy Japan 300. Due to time constraints, we move ahead in the race here at Twin Ring Motegi. Lap 137 on the restart. Brian Herta looks good and moves to the front of the pack. But then moments later, the 20 car of Ed Carpenter, the Fission car, goes into the wall. That brings out yet another yellow flag. As the cars went into the pit stops, it looks like Elio Castroneves had it all figured out. He was given the black flag. He moved from 9th to 2nd, but he would be recycled back to the back of the pack. All right, you are now all caught up with 50 laps to go. We're at lap 150 of 200 from Twin Ring Motegi. You are on board with Thomas Scheckter. He currently sits in 2nd place behind our leader, and that is the 26 of Dan Weldon. He is the defending champion here at the Twin Ring Motegi. They are bringing it up to speed. The green flag is out, and it will be a dash to the finish with 50 laps to go here, and Thomas Scheckter goes to the inside.
Neither one of them is going to take their foot off. Looks like Scheckter got a better drive coming off of turn 4, showing that Chevrolet horsepower that they've been finding here for the last few races.
Oh
and
my.
Look at this, 3 wide.
You gotta be kidding. Kanaan goes to the middle, unable to close the deal, so it's Thomas Scheckter out in front. Tony Kanaan sits in 2nd, and Dan Weldon now shuffles back to 3rd.
And then look who's coming up in the Marlboro car, Hornish Jr., having a look on the inside right now from Danny Weldon.
That is unbelievable. Like a thief in the night, Tony Kanaan comes out of nowhere, slides back up, now sits in 2nd place, going wheel to wheel with Thomas Scheckter. He has to give a bit of a lift there, and it's Scheckter who slides away. Meanwhile, Sam Hornish Jr. has now moved up to 3rd place with Dan Weldon sliding back.
Boy, Scheckter is not going to be denied. Interesting to see his car probably works better in turns 3 and 4 than everybody else, which is probably a key to getting to the end of the race, Todd, right now, as we see Danica Patrick getting the car very low through turns 1 and 2.
Oh, look at this. It's getting a little bit sticky, like some sticky white rice. But Danica Patrick able to hold the car on the low line. Oh, here's where we get a little dicey. Darren Manning coming in, he lifts, and Danica Patrick comes off 4 very fast as they come around, and I guarantee Brian Barnhart is sweating bullets.
Turns 1 and 2 we're looking at right now as the fast turns flat out through the turns as Cannon's having a look at Scheckter. He's going to sneak down the inside because Scheckter has been running low all the time, but I bet you Scheckter keeps his foot into it. There we go again. Better car in turns 3 and 4, and remember, the finish line is just on the exit of 4, so if you have to come down to a last lap draw, I'd rather have a car that works better in turns 3 and 4 than 1 and 2.
45 laps to go. It is Thomas Scheckter out in front. Tony Kanaan sits behind him, and Scheckter has found some newfound power in that Chevrolet. So it's a Chevrolet, a Honda, and a Toyota. All the factories represented up in front, 1, 2, and 3, and once again, Tony Kanaan's going to try to test that inside, and once again, he has to lift as Thomas Scheckter drops it down below. We've shown the much maligned year that Thomas Scheckter has had. 3 races, 3 accidents in 05. He had led 13 laps at Homestead when we thought he was going to turn it around. Not the case. Will Japan be the turning point for Thomas Scheckter and the 4 Chevrolet?
And wouldn't it be just the thing for a Chevrolet to win in Japan? And that would be one of the key things that would make a lot of noise back home in the USA.
Dan Weldon, number 26, he gets past Sam Hornish. Meanwhile, his teammate, Hornish's teammate, that's the 3 of Elio Castro Neves. He makes a nice move, gets around Buddy Rice, the defending Indianapolis 500 champion. The pedigree and the talent here is top-notch as we continue to race with 43 laps to go of the scheduled 200. We've had several yellow flags, Scott, but it looks like we've got those cleared out of our system as we take a look at our Toyota lap leaders. It's Franchitti, 67, no longer in the race. Then it's Danica Patrick, the rookie, with 32. Weldon, 28. Hornish Jr. with 14. I'm impressed with Thomas Scheckter. I mean, where does this power come from?
Well, right now, sometimes you can run that car trimmed out, as they call it, and if you're running up front, then you can actually run a very strong race, but possibly if he gets past, then maybe he will not be able to run the same pace because he has the car so trimmed out and that dirty air coming off the car in front, which may be a car, say, for instance, like Kanaan. So maybe he knows that. Maybe he knows he has to lead this race, and he's going to keep his foot in this thing as hard as he possibly can.
Thomas Scheckter setting history for Chevrolet. This is the first time a Chevy Power car has led at Twin Rings. So Thomas Scheckter looking very strong. And he's got Kanaan behind him, so the battle is not over, and Dan Weldon sits in 3rd, Hornish in 4th, but your leader right now in the yellow 4 car, it's Thomas Scheckter. Can he hold it? We'll go side by side and find out back after this. Twin Ring Motegi, just north of Tokyo, Japan. It's the Firestone Indy Japan 300 as we look at the top 5. Thomas Scheckter holds down the top position, followed by Tony Kanaan, Dan Weldon, Sam Hornish Jr., and the rookie Danica Patrick, who's been quite possibly the most impressive all day.
Riding along right now with Kotsuki Masura, who actually had to get out of the throttle. Downshift a couple of gears going through turns 3 and 4. Tell you his car is probably not working as strong as he would like it to. Upshifting now going to turn 1. This is the fastest end of the racetrack of this egg-shaped track that we're going around right now. Entering the turns 1 about 215 to 18 miles an hour.
Well, weather not a factor today. No, Scott, that was one of your keys. We thought wind may be a factor, but it is a beautiful day at Twin Ring Motegi as we have completed 164 of a scheduled 200 laps. You're running, or it looks like this as they go 3 wide there. It is Thomas Scheckter right in front, Tony Kanaan, Dan Weldon, Sam Hornish Jr. in 4th, and Danica Patrick sits in 5th. But Brian Hurd and Scott Sharp really putting the pressure on her.
And we saw a few laps ago where Sharp tried to get the move down in turn 3 where he is right now and ended up having to get really out of the gas because Hurdick just sliced in front of him. Now Sharp's got a little bit of ground to catch up to be able to catch up to 4th place Sam Hornish right now. He's a couple of seconds behind, and if we don't get a yellow, he's going to have to actually get that gap back to be able to get in the draft those first 4 cars to have a shot at this thing.
And moments ago, that was Sharp and Hurd of the 8 and 7 car respectively, making the pass on the 16 of Danica Patrick. So Danica Patrick now moves back to 7th place. Scott Sharp sits in 5th, and Brian Hurd sits in 6th place, but it continues to be Thomas Scheckter, Tony Kanaan, and Dan Weldon running 1, 2, and 3.
There's Manning going underneath Danica Patrick right now,
and
going
that's the
into turn 1.
second time, Scotty, he's tried that move.
starting to make a wonder whether Patrick's car is starting to go off just a little bit. We saw after a restart previously in the race where she wasn't that strong, and after about 10 or 12 laps, it seemed like the car got more comfortable for her, and she was then having an opportunity to then get a stronger pace going. But also right now, this is probably one of the longest races that she's run in her entire career. So right now, you know, she's a very fit person, but she's also probably learning a lot about long distance racing here at Motegi.
Danica Patrick now sits in 8th place. Thomas Schechter continues to lead, followed by Tony Kanaan and Dan Weldon. And there you see it. She's led 32 laps today. Talk about getting seat time at the front of the pack with this crew chasing you.
Well, qualified in the front row as you ride back again with Kotsuki Masura, but Danica qualified in the front row and led strong laps, you know, and only her fourth outing in the Indycar.
Very impressive indeed, as we have completed 168 laps of 200. That gives us 32 laps to go. Scott played devil's advocate here. What do you think Thomas Schechter has to do? What does Tony Kanaan have to do?
You know, you always wonder about where their fuel gauge is set right now as far as a fuel trim inside the cockpit, which the driver can change and adjust to make the engine run lean to get more fuel mileage. You know, only those guys know and the engineers know through the telemetry in the pit lane exactly where they are as far as making it to the end of the race. We're sitting right now with Manning not hardly even getting off the gas, downshifting there with his right hand as we saw, and he's got his foot on the gas and he's going to slice underneath right now. Wow. Brian Herta, and this Target Chip Ganassi car with a Toyota power is running very, very strong.
Nice way to celebrate your 30th birthday as we check in with Jerry Punch.
Guys, talking about fuel mileage, we just inquired here in the Thomas Schechter pits, and they're saying that Thomas is running a very conservative fuel setting right now, and they think that they are making pretty good fuel mileage, and they could go faster if they wanted to by burning more fuel. Their calculations show right now that they're probably going to make it to lap 199 and a quarter, or 199 and a half. They said they're not sure they can make it 200, but it's going to be very, very close. If they get a yellow, they're okay. If they don't get a yellow, they're going to be holding their breath those last 2 laps.
Boy, there's some wild driving going on right there with Elio Castroneves using up the whole track, going from the right-hand side down to the low lane, just trying to stop the pressure coming from Kotsuki Masura. So I'm sure Brian Barnhart will be looking at that much like he did with Buddy Rice, and maybe a black flag might be coming out.
Brian Barnhart, of course, the president of the Indycar Series, and he is the big sheriff in town. As we ride on board with Ryan Briscoe coming down to 28 laps. And I'll tell you, that's why Dr. Punch is Dr. Punch. He did the math quickly. If you can run 199 and a half and you've had the luck that Thomas Schechter has, is there any way you bring him in, or you just let him go?
What do you do as a driver? You just let him go. But what do you do as a driver in that sense is you start to use a higher gear and maybe run 6th instead of 5th, try to run less RPMs in the engine, maybe try and breathe the engine just a little bit more. Don't have your foot into the throttle as much. I mean, there's many things that you can do, but the key thing is that if you're leading this race right now, if it doesn't turn yellow, you can't come in. Otherwise, you've lost.
Well, this would mean so much to Thomas Schechter, to Chevrolet. As we said, he has put the Chevrolet on lead point for the first time ever here at Twin Ring, and he has led 22 laps. So we will keep our eye on Thomas Schechter. With 26 laps to go, it is Schechter out in front with Kanaan and Weldon running 2nd and 3rd. And there you see the race summary. Danica Patrick, the rookie, has led 32 laps. Very impressive, especially the first 150, 120 laps. On lap 123, it was Dan Weldon taking the lead as his teammate Dario Franchitti gets up in the gray area, the marbles as they call it, and he pins it just after they said on the radio that he had the strongest car. And then it was Thomas Schechter getting the pass on Dan Weldon at lap 151. Well, we are set up for a great dash to the finish with 25 laps to go. We will step aside. We will take you side by side. You miss nothing. We come back. The exciting conclusion from Twin Ring Motegi. The conclusion of the Indy Japan 300. Your leader, Thomas Schechter, followed closely by Tony Kanaan. Dan Weldon sits in 3rd, Sandhorns Jr. in 4th, and Scott Sharp in 5th. During our side-by-side break, I asked our expert analyst, Scott Goodyear, is Thomas Schechter praying for a yellow flag? And you said no. Why?
Well, right now he seems to have a car that's working. As the laps went on after the restart, the car seems to be better. He seems to be able to pull away from Tony Kanaan. Tony seemed to be pretty strong right after the restart, but you know, he'll just take his chances getting through traffic and maybe take his chances right now on fuel mileage, because Tony's in the same boat too. And you know, we'll just have to wait to see where Weldon is running. I mean, Weldon's running a little bit slower speed, but not by much. So I got to tell you right now, if I'm Thomas Scheckter, just keep the green going, boys. We'll take our chances.
Buddy Rice, number 15, making a pass on the 7 car of Brian Herta. Buddy Rice, after that black flag incident, certainly picking up the pace. Thomas Scheckter also, as we pointed out, little shaky on fuel mileage. Just moments ago on the radio, Dr. Jerry Punch reported that they're telling Dan Weldon that the 11 and the 4, little dicey on fuel. Don't know if they can make it all the way. And you bring up another good point. If it did go to a yellow, who's stronger than Tony Kanaan on restarts?
Well, you got to look at this, but look at this battle right now with Kotsky Masura having a run right now with Brian Herta. He kept his foot into it, tried him on the outside, went around him on the inside. What a great move.
Brian Herta continues to slide back. He currently sits in 8th place, actually make that 9th as Matsura moves up. Buddy Rice picks up a spot. He goes to 7th, just behind Manning and Sharp. But the battle out front really is getting close. Oh, and speaking of getting close,
Vitor Mir is taking the opportunity to look at a slowing Brian Herta to maybe have a run at him, and now he sets his sights on Danica Patrick, who got past Brian Herta just coming out of turns 3 and 4 that previous lap.
Vitor Mir, though, 33 laps down after he spent much of the time in the pits, so Brian Herta's not going to be too pleased about that. As the blue flag with the yellow slash comes through, that says leaders are coming through, let them go by, and Vitor Mir is saying, I'm feeling a bit springy here. Let's get to racing. But with only 17 laps to go, the question is, can that man, Thomas Scheckter, and the Chevy-powered Panther Pennzoil car keep the lead and have the fuel as he goes all the way to the 200 lap and the finale?
And you see that he's leading right now just by 1.6 seconds. And the key thing he can do inside the cockpit, Todd, is turn the fuel mileage back one more time. And if he's running, say, at 98 or 97% fuel mixture, he can turn it down to 95 or even maybe a little bit lower. If he sees that Kanaan's catching up, then maybe you can richen the engine back up and give yourself a little bit more horsepower. But the key thing right now is try to make fuel mileage. It was one of the key points, actually, of the race that we talked about earlier on. It's coming out to play a big part right now.
15 laps to go. We are going to go side by side. Don't you fret. You miss nothing. Back with much more in the conclusion of the Indy Japan 300 after this. 10 laps to go with the Firestone Indy Japan 300. Your leader is Thomas Scheckter. 12 laps to go. And Dr. Jerry Punch, I know they're crunching numbers down there in the Chevrolet camp. What do you know?
Doug Bowles a moment ago just told me, he said, you know, it looks like from our numbers, we're going to be right at 199. He said, but the way our luck's running, you know, it's going to be 198.5 to 198.75. If we had any luck at all, we could make it 200. Maybe this is the day that our luck changes here in the Panther pits. They're all keeping their fingers crossed, and meanwhile, Thomas Scheckter is trying to conserve every ounce of fuel he can.
All right, Scotty, you've been in this position before. You've been in that car before. Can he make it?
Well, I said before, and I'll say it again, you're not going to come in at all, and you asked me if they want a yellow, but right now, everybody plays it coy because they know everybody else up and down the pit lane right now is listening to the broadcast. So, you know, I'm not saying anybody's telling wrong stories, but, you know, something, you play for whatever you can.
Is there any chance he picks up a back marker and gets a draft off him for 4 or 5 laps to pick up some fuel?
Well, he's so fast right now that he'll pick up any draft he can to sort of save fuel or save resistance going over the car. But, you know, right now, even Tony Kanaan looks like he's throttled back also as Weldon's starting to pick up him. So maybe they're actually having the same situation right now, just trying to make fuel mileage. You know, it's when your dash says that you've got 20 miles to go and you're on the highway and the next fuel stops in 25. I mean, that's what these guys are living right now.
9 laps to go in Japan. It is Thomas Scheckter, Tony Kanaan, and Dan Weldon, the key players for Thomas Scheckter. This would be sweet. His first career win, only win on the Indycar circuit, came back in 2002 at Michigan. So for Thomas Scheckter, we talked about this earlier in the day, Scott, how this would turn around his season. As we look at 26, Dan Weldon currently sitting in 3rd, and he is the defending champion here at the Twin Ring.
Well, momentum going certainly into Indianapolis is the key thing right now, actually after this whole win, and that's the key thing for Panther and Chevrolet and the whole group. Doc Punch?
They have told Dan Weldon, by the way, just a moment ago on the radio, that his teammate Tony Kanaan will be 2 laps short. They said Kanaan will be 2 laps shy on fuel. They've already told Weldon that possibly Scheckter will not make it. As you watch one of the Barbara Penske cars come on the pit road here for a splash of fuel, that is Sam Hornish.
Well, with 7 laps to go, Sam Hornish possibly knows something that a lot of people don't. Maybe people are going to run out of fuel. Wouldn't that be something if they all came down to 2 or 3 laps and they just ran out of gas, and he took the gamble and it paid off.
Well, right now he did a wing change in the front of the car just to be able to be real strong for those last couple of laps. And right now, maybe the Toyota's not making as good a fuel mileage as everybody else. But you know, there's a little bit of poker face going on right now, Todd, because you can see John Barnes, the owner right now. He's actually, I think that's called a migraine that he's got going on right now. So much pressure on that team to perform, so much pressure on the team to perform, not only for here, but getting ready for Indianapolis. And I think of Buddy Lazier coming in right now.
Right.
You know, those guys are all looking to win Indy. That's what that team is there for. I mean, I raced for those guys. The championship is nice, championship win is nice, and the race wins are nice, but John Barnes and Gary Pedigo live for winning the Indianapolis 500. You can see the last Chevy win here in California in October of 2003 was Sam Hornish behind the wheel. And I'll tell you something right now, it's been a long, dry season for those guys over at Panther. And I said earlier on the telecast, I think Thomas Scheckter is one of the fastest drivers in this series right now, but certainly has done some things in the past that have cost him race wins, but he's also had some things go wrong that are not of his doing, and I think that he probably could have at least another 4 or 5 wins on his resume, considering just the one that you mentioned, Todd, that he has at Michigan.
Well, he has been in the top 10 all day long, and the pressure has certainly been upon him. Is he starting to pull away just a little bit? Is he starting to expose his cards? Will Tony Kanaan run out of gas with 3 laps to go? Answers will be revealed momentarily, but Thomas Scheckter, the pressure he had, his teammate Thomas Engate going out in qualifying, so he pretty much is running the flag, and it looks like it has come true. No line on pit row as Tony Kanaan has got to come in. The fuel became an issue. He is going to pull in with 3 laps to go, so that lets Thomas Scheckter get away, and Dan Weldon
He's
now
out of
moves in.
fuel, boys.
Oh, no.
Right there, if you're that far away, down 2 or 3 laps, that's crazy. Dr. Punch.
Guys, Thomas Scheckter is out of fuel. They cannot believe it. It is a typical luck as he is slowing down. Tears are in their eyes here. The helmets have come off. They are so frustrated. They're a lap and a half away from a dream come true to bring Chevy as the white flag is about to wave here at Motegi, guys.
Here is the dash as the white flag comes out, and a familiar face in a familiar place. Dan Weldon, who won here last year, and a yellow flag comes out, and Dan Weldon, and there's a car in the wall on 2, and is that Elio Castroneves or Sam Hornish Jr.? It is Elio Castroneves.
Very rare for him to have a crash. We'll have to find out what's going on, but you know something, this plays into Danny Weldon right now. Race pace has slowed. We saw Vitor Meira going underneath him in turns 1 and 2. Remember, Vitor Meira is way behind because of being inside the pit box for such a long time. Checkered flag.
Checkered flag is out. Your winner, Dan Weldon. He picks up the victory once again in Japan. He rolls the dice, and it comes up Yahtzee. Dan Weldon, the 10th time in Indycar series a driver has won in consecutive years at an event. 13th win for AGR, 6th career win. We talked about the last 365 days for him, and for that man, the exact opposite. Does it get any worse? It's like watching a car wreck. I mean, I hate to use that expression on this surface, but you just can't turn away. And for Thomas Scheckter,
You think about the luck right now for Thomas Scheckter. I mean, if that yellow had to come out just 2 laps earlier, he'd be just coasting to the win.
Mike Landretti once again feels the joy of being a winning owner. Enjoy the celebration and the dejection as we go side by side. We talk to the key players after this. Welcome back to Twin Ring Motegi. It was a 2-act play, one of joy, one of sorrow, and the man with the most joy is Dan Weldon. He defends his title at the Twin Ring. Dan Weldon, your winner, followed by Scott Sharp, Buddy Rice, and Danica Patrick moving up the board. There's Elio Castroneves, who had that incident and brought out the yellow with 1 lap to go. But an unfortunate day for Thomas Scheckter. I just cannot believe his luck.
you know, you have to look at it right now and just say they have the confidence, certainly because they have the speed. Chevrolet seems to have the power. The team ran flawless pit stops all day long, just a little bit short coming up to the end. The confidence will build going into Indianapolis.
Well, Dan Weldon extends his points lead in the overall. This is his 3rd win in 4 races in 05. There you see Weldon, 46 points up on teammate Tony Kanaan, as we see our Firestone race standings. 4 races complete of 17. Sam Hornish Jr. sits in 3rd. Brian Herta. Elio Castroneves cracks the top 5. And for Patrick Carpentier, he will round out the top 10. But again, all hearts and feelings go out to Thomas Scheckter as we check in on the other side of the map. Dr. Ponch is with Michael Andretti.
And Michael, what an unbelievable finish today for your guys. One runs out of fuel, one hangs on and wins a race. Congratulations again.
Thank you. I guess it pays to have 4 cars out there. You know, a couple of them had problems that were actually maybe a little bit better, but Dan did a heck of a job. You know, drove well, and the team made a good call with the fuel, played it right, and here we are. I'm just so happy. Again, to win here for Honda. It's a huge win for us as a team, and a huge win for Honda here in their hometown. So. Good day.
And great momentum for this team headed to the month of May, which is something you'd always wanted.
Oh, yeah. I mean, for sure. I hope we can, you know, continue to keep this streak going, you know, with wins, you know, that is. And I don't know. We'll see. We're ready. We're ready to attack it. So hopefully we'll have some luck.
Andretti Green, 3 wins in 4 starts this year. And how about Dan Weldon, his 6th win in his last 19 starts, guys? It all began right here a year ago with his win at Motegi, and he backs it up with a back-to-back victory here in Japan. Guys?
Thank you, Dr. Punch. And there you see the results of gambling with the fuel, and Dan Weldon, too many victory donuts, Scotty. He's out of gas.
Well, he's out of fuel right now. He probably won't get back to pit lane to allow our Dr. Jerry Punch, who's down there, to actually catch up with him. But you know, you just look at the strength that he has. I remember talking to Danny Weldon a couple of weeks ago, asking him what he thought about the series, and he says the series and race wins are neat, but what I want is the Indianapolis 500.
Couple quick notes. Sharp Rice, Danica Patrick, and Koski Matsura, best finish for them in 05. She's got to be very happy, very impressive young lady. And after 18 consecutive top 5 finishes, Tony Kanaan finishes out of the top 5. He goes into 6th place. Well, what a great day here in Twin Motegi, and for everyone who made the journey, it was well worth it. For Thomas Scheckter, they go back to the drawing board, carry some of this momentum, Scott, for 198 laps into Indianapolis. Your thoughts as we get ready for the month of May?
Well, it seems like Honda, Toyota, and Chevrolet are very strong as far as the horsepower is concerned, maybe a little bit different in fuel mileage. Be interesting to see who plays what card at the beginning of practice for the Indianapolis 500. And another thought very quickly, Tony Kanaan is on the lead lap again. Possibly, actually, he's down 1 lap. I take that back. Maybe he's actually now broken his streak of finishing on the lead lap of all these events.
Well, a great day of racing comes to a conclusion here in a beautiful part of Japan. It's Twin Ring Motegi, and we are just north of Tokyo, so everyone will pack up and head back to the States, but it was a trip well worth it, especially for the Andretti Green Racing team. Once again, your winner, Dan Weldon, plays it right on fuel, runs out of it on the victory lap, but he had enough to get the job done. He picks up the checkered flag, backs up his victory in St. Petersburg. So Dan Weldon certainly carrying all the momentum of a steamroller as he comes to the Indianapolis 500. And thank goodness for those safer barrier walls, as they came in handy several times today, and many drivers thankful that we had them here at this beautiful facility. The folks here in Japan have done such a fantastic job as the Firestone Indy Japan 300 comes to a conclusion. Well, our next race, the greatest spectacle in racing. It's the 89th running of the Indianapolis 500. The Indycar Series returns to the States May 29th. We'll have 3 weeks of Sports Center coverage, plus all the time trial action, the 500 Festival Parade, which all leads to the big race on ABC Sports May 29th. To our host in Japan, we say domo arigato and nihone kara sayonara. For Dr. Jerry Punch and Scott Goodyear, I'm Todd Harris. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Coming up next, NHRA Thrills and Spills. Congratulations, Yoku Dekimashita, Dan Weldon, your winner in Japan. We'll see you at Indianapolis. So long, everybody.